All right, if you want to see what I've been up to for the last 4 years, we're about to look at my American Girl historical collection, which honestly is quite insane. I'm going to probably have to film this video in multiple sections because I have lost count of how many dolls this is. We're just going to relax and kind of go slow today. Maybe it's your first time, but let's go ahead and just get into it. I've got, like I said, a ton of historical dolls. I have been working my way through trying to get some of the more like Mattel era newer dolls that I had never heard of until like 4 years ago. So when I first started collecting, it was mainly like Molly, Samantha, and Kirsten, who were the ones I really remember the most. I remember Felicity being new, and then I certainly remember the catalogs where Addie was announced. But I lost interest in dolls when I was a child, somewhere around 1994, I want to say, because I had never heard of the American Girl of Today collection, and Josefina was a new character to me as of like 4 years ago. So I really spent like the first couple of years collecting, really focusing on getting Molly, Samantha, and Kirsten, and I have multiples of those dolls because there are a lot of different versions, and we'll kind of get into that a little bit later in the video. I'm going to start off with my Mattel collection because it's like the smallest part of it, and I feel like we kind of want to get that out of the way because I feel like it's like the more common thing, and then we'll kind of move into some of the like rarer, more interesting, like early like white body American Girl dolls from the Pleasant Company days. But yeah, I'm just gonna dive in because I think this is gonna be a super long video today, and we're gonna start off with probably my least favorite doll in my entire collection, and that is Marie Grace. Now, again, there's probably going to be a million and one different excuses. I try not to be one of those YouTubers that just constantly apologizes. Like I'm not trying to brag or anything. Make no mistake, this is me bragging today. So if you have a problem with people bragging on the internet, go watch something else. But this is, like I said, probably my least favorite historical doll that they've ever made. And I've kind of been on a tear, although I've kind of reined it in a little bit. But there was a while there where I really thought I was going to collect every single American Girl doll that was ever made. And once I started like making some actual progress on that, I quickly realized that that is not the path to happiness. Apparently, capitalism doesn't lead to happiness, and overconsumerism doesn't lead to happiness. So that has led me to buying a few dolls that I don't exactly love. So I'm trying to like muster up the courage to sell like a lot of my dolls and see how I feel about having what, I wouldn't consider to be like a canonically complete collection, but something that feels complete to me because I love every single thing in my collection. So I don't know how long this girl's gonna stay around, but I got her for a pretty good deal. I thought like I would never get one this minty for the price that I got her for. So I might sell her and make a little bit of money to put towards something else. But this is probably the best looking Marie Grace doll that I've seen. Again, just I really think a lot of it comes down to her meat outfit. I really think this is one of the fuggliest outfits they've ever made for a doll. Despite this being like a really pretty, almost like 90s looking plaid, I actually love this fabric. But again, I guess no shade to our ancestors, but like, what is this thing? Like, it looks like an applique vest or whatever. I absolutely hate this meat outfit. So I think that's been a big reason why I haven't really been like that into this doll. And thankfully, they've made some improvements to the head sculpt for this doll that they've continued to use over and over. Like they kind of had a resurgence with this head sculpt in the recent years, and I think they've like kind of made it look a little less uncanny. But I know this doll is some people's like favorite. It's just, she's not mine, but I did my best to try and find the nicest one I could. Now that said, I probably will try and find an outfit for her that's maybe my favorite from her collection and redress her in that before I make the final decision. But I now have most of the historical dolls. I'm missing a couple of them, as you'll see. But I don't know. I feel like it's too many dolls, and I'd rather have like an extra Molly doll, even though I have like 10 of them, than have this doll in my collection. So yeah, for now, this is my Marie Grace doll. Super minty. Like this is factory hair. I didn't do any restoration on this, but she's got perfect braids, her original bows. Those pin curls are gelled and squiggly like a pig's tail. So if I'm ever gonna love one, it's gonna be this one. So yeah, for now, I'm going to keep her, but just know that if I start selling off some of my one-off historicals, she's probably going to be the first one in the fire. So this is Marie Grace. Next up is Rebecca Rubin, who is one that I actually do like, and actually quite a bit. So this is the first version of Rebecca that was released. I want to say 2009. I could be wrong. It might be 2008, but somewhere, around Lady Gaga's birth of her career, we have Rebecca Rubin. And I love both versions, actually. The Be Forever version, I think, has a really great meat outfit. But, honestly, I can't resist a burgundy fabric. I mean, hello, it is Pleasant Company. And, well, I guess American Girl now. But so much of my collection is Pleasant Company, and burgundy is like the color for Pleasant Company. So I feel like this version of her like suits my collection more. So I went ahead with the first edition, and that's typically what I'll do is try and have like the very first version of something because I don't know, it just feels a little bit more museum like that way in my collection. But she has the Josefina head sculpt, which is one of my absolute favorites that American Girl has ever made, and decal eyes, maybe not my favorite, but they really suit her coloring. I like her hair length and everything. And like I said, this meat outfit is so good. It's very Samantha looking to me because I'm kind of an idiot when it comes to historical fashions. Like literally all I know is what I've seen in American Girl doll clothes. But to me, this looks like something that Samantha could pull off. Especially like even these shoes, these look like straight up out of her summer collection. So I know, like, again, canonically they're kind of close in time, kind of as far as their stories go and like their period in history. So yeah, I feel like she could probably share some stuff with Samantha, but I really do love this meat outfit. I thought they did a great job with it. It's unfortunate that they changed it, but I guess also fortunate that it wasn't a complete dumpster fire like some of the Be Forever outfits. But yeah, I think this doll looks really great. She'll probably be one of the last to go if I decide to sell some of my newer historicals. But yeah, I think really the only flaw with her is she's got loosey-goosey legs, which is very common for old American Girl dolls because of the way they're strung and the elastics just kind of wear out over time. But yeah, she can do a kickball change pretty easily, so I guess we're gonna like tap dance our way onto the next one. All right, up next we have Claudie Wells. I think one of the best additions to the historical line that we've seen in a very long time. She was released a few years ago, and I absolutely fell in love with her like the minute I laid eyes on her. And I have to say, I was really entrenched at the time. This, again, I can't remember if it was 21 or 22 when she was released, but I was deeply entrenched in like the vintage collector community, like on Facebook, for better or for worse. But a lot of people in the vintage community really didn't like this doll. Some for maybe some not so good reasons, but there was a lot of pushback, I remember, at least amongst like traditional American Girl Pleasant Company collectors. I just remember having some conversations with people that really didn't like this doll, and I'm like, what's wrong with you? This doll's awesome. I think down to her meat outfit, like everything is great. Actually, she has a sweater somewhere. Somebody's probably wearing it somewhere on the modern shelf, but I just really love this meat outfit. I think, a blue check is always in style, and I mean, hello, this head sculpt again is one of the best they've ever made, and I'm talking all the way back to 1986. Claudie's head sculpt is one of the most beautiful I think they've ever made, and I think that it very, very much looks like something that Goods would have sculpted, the company that sculpted the original American Girl dolls and produced them like well into the 90s. I feel like Claudie really sort of looks like a variation of the classic head sculpt. So again, to me, she has a very, very Pleasant Company look in terms of sculpting. That said, I do wish she had the pinwheel eyes instead of the decals, but she like really is a great doll, a great head of hair, really cute meat outfit, apparently a really good story. I, for some reason, have this mental block against reading American Girl books lately. I don't know what it is. It's probably because I get migraines when I read. So anyway, yeah, Claudie, one of my absolute favorites. I don't think any of her collection other than just the doll, although I do have like, I think I have 3 Claudie dolls. One of them has been morphed into a boy version of her, which I think you actually saw in the last collection video. So we're not going to look at him today. And then again, there's not really that much variation in like the American Girl dolls. Like, so like when I say American Girl, like the Mattel era. So the other Claudie that I have truthfully hasn't been taken out of the box, and she looks more or less exactly like this, even though American Girl dolls still to this day tend to look a little bit different to each other, even if they're made in the same batch. I have 2 really beautiful Claudies, and to be perfectly honest, the one that's in the box is buried somewhere in the closet. I don't actually know where she is. So that's why you're not seeing the second one today, but you get to see one really beautiful one. So how lucky are you that you get to see a video of Claudie Wells on this gorgeous day? Actually, it's not a gorgeous day. I have studio lights that are approximately the temperature of the sun in here because it's randomly like 20 degrees today, even though it was like 70 degrees last week. I don't know. Are we all going to die? Speaking of maybe dead people, next up we have Kit Kittredge, who is a very common favorite amongst, I want to say, probably more like Gen Z era American Girl fans, because Kit was released, I think, in the year 2000, if my memory serves me correctly. It's been a while since I've looked really deeply into her, but yeah, she was like well past when I was paying attention to dolls. So again, this is another like sort of classic, sort of pleasant company adjacent doll or character, I guess I should say, that most people associate as like one of the core characters for American Girl, like that whole universe. But yeah, me personally, again, like Josefina, I didn't know she was a thing until just like 4 years ago. So I ended up looking for one around the time that they were re-releasing Kit for, I can't remember if it was the character's birthday or her. I don't know what it was. They re-released Kit a few years ago, and I actually did a video unboxing this doll. If you want to go back and watch like a super cringe, like 30-something-year-old man try and figure out how to make videos about dolls on the internet, that's probably a fun watch if you want to cringe binge. But I ended up doing an unboxing video for this doll because when they re-released her, I thought it would be fun to like actually get one of the true original kits. So I ended up purchasing this one that is a true, I want to say she's a July 2000. If you take their heads off, you can look and they're like, they have little shoulder tags on the inside where you can tell what month and year she was made. And I want to say the earliest ones were made in July. Again, that's off the top of my head. You might want to check Reddit or something to know for sure. But this kit, at least at the time, I knew for sure she was one from the very first batch ever made. And like I said, I think it's July of 2000. So again, one of the very, very first Kit dolls that were ever made. And I have to say, I have grown accustomed to her face. She was one of my least favorites for a while just because like this Karen Bob, like this is a Bob. Oh, I'm not supposed to cuss on YouTube. I know some of y'all's kids are watching, and I don't want to be the reason your kid gets like an F in English. So anyway, Kit was not my absolute favorite doll for a while, but the longer I've had her and the more like round her face looks to me compared to newer American Girl dolls, I really started to like her. Her meat outfit is, I think, super cute. This is so much better than that Be Forever garbage that they tried hawking on us like we wouldn't know better a few years ago. But yeah, I think, as of now that I've kind of been recently, I shouldn't say recently, it's been years at this point, but as an adult, after getting entrenched into the American Girl world, I understand the hype behind Kit now, whereas before I was like, why do you want this doll? You can't even do anything with her hair. Again, me as somebody with like 17 boy dolls, but I don't know. I was a little bit of a Kit hater back in the day, but now I actually think she's quite sick. And again, I would probably keep this one if I started to thin my collection out. This one's going to stay. I think, again, this is one of the most beautiful kits I've ever seen, but don't you dare get any static electricity in her hair because she will look like Hellraiser because these little short hairs get so staticky, and she basically has like Liberty spikes if her hair gets too dry and staticky. So I've been trying to keep it, a little bit maintained and nice. Surprisingly, Kit's hair is like annoying to maintain. And the greatest depression of all is an American Girl doll with bad hair. Next up, we have Nanea, or if you are a member of the Try Guys, you may know her as Nanya. This is another doll that just sort of creeped her way into my collection. I think she, again, is one of the more, I don't know, I guess it's problematic to say like, oh, this doll is more beautiful than the others, but come on. I mean, that's just how it is, right? Some are more pretty than others. And I think that Nanea or Nanya is one of the prettiest they've ever made. I think she's kind of a divisive one for people. I think some people really don't like her head sculpt for some reason, but I really do. I think it's so pretty, and it started out really pretty. So yeah, I really love her. I just think she's a really great combination. Again, canonically, she's from around the time of like Molly's story. So I think it's kind of fun to like have like sort of like not crossover lores because they don't know each other, but I think it's kind of cool to have similar similar eras but different perspectives on that. I wish American Girl would do more of that so we could see like, different types of girls throughout like similar periods in history. Anyway, I don't know. I'm somebody that's really more into the toys than I am the stories. So just do what you will with that. But I do think she's incredibly beautiful. I think she has a really cool looking meat outfit. Again, probably not like on my top 5 list if I had to say, but I think she's a beautiful doll. But probably will be one that gets sold if I thin down my herd a little bit. So I'm at least enjoying her for now. This is like a factory fresh one basically that I bought secondhand for a pretty good deal. And that's pretty much how I've been purchasing dolls that aren't like on my like A tier for my like collection goals, which again is mainly dolls like this one right here. And um, so like I just need to get them for a really, really, really good deal so that if I lose my mind or I guess if I get my mind back and actually start selling some things, that I'm not just going to be out like thousands of dollars because I overpaid on things. So yeah, Nanea came up for a really good deal. I think I got her for like 40 bucks a while back. And so I just went ahead and picked her up because she was perfectly mint and had a super cute face. And yeah, that's why she lives with me for now. Next up, we have Emily Bennett, who I sort of consider like part of Molly's collection because she's one of the best friend characters. I only have, I think, 2 of the best friends as of right now. But I just found what I think is probably the prettiest Emily that I've ever seen. I decided to show her with sort of my Mattel era stuff because the Molly collection is going to get so deep that I feel like I would just either forget or this would be a distraction. So this is Molly's best friend according to the lore, and she was in the original books. And I don't always love an Emily doll when I see them, and I really wanted one as part of my Molly collection because again, she's just like part of the story. So I waited until I just found one that like I couldn't resist, and it took a while. And I have to say I paid a lot for this one, but if you're really like deep into collecting American Girl stuff, and especially if you like buy duplicates and stuff, you'll know a term that we all kind of call the pretty tax. And it basically just means you're willing to pay more than market value for a doll if you think that she is a lot prettier than the average doll, as far as like similar, like the same character. Does that make sense? What I'm saying is this doll I think is like the prettiest Emily of all the Emilys I've seen. So I ended up paying about $200 for her, which is on the high side. She did come with her box and everything, but I just really thought that she was the most perfect Emily that I've seen. And I've seen a lot that I just really haven't liked. So the fact that she came with all her original parts and accessories, factory, perfect hair. I mean, look at that. That looks like I just took the hairnet off, and she still has her hand tag and everything. She felt like the one. So I was kind of going through a rough time also when she popped up on eBay, and I felt like I deserved a treat. So yeah, I spent $200 on Emily. What are you going to do about it? So yeah, this is my Emily. I think she is pretty great, honestly, because I don't love the classic head sculpt like, as they've gone through time. I think ever since like the year 2000, it's started to become more and more like, I know this sounds weird to say, but I feel like it's looked more toy-like. I don't, maybe that makes sense to you. I don't know. I just feel like I don't know, the classic head sculpt to me just looks a little bit more generic to me than it used to. So I don't know. I find it very difficult to find dolls with the classic head sculpt that were made like after like, like maybe like 2002 that look good. But to be fair, like what they were doing with classic head sculpt between like 1989 and like literally for 10 years after that up until like Y2K, they're not really beautiful dolls either. I've really struggled with my American Girl Today collection because I love collecting first editions, but those first editions of all the classic head sculpts, for the most part, particularly like the lightest skin ones, like the number 10 skin tone, I think they were doing something really weird with their head sculpt, and they just look odd to me. And I think that they kind of fixed it, and they look great as of like 1999 2000 era when they started doing the red vinyl jumper outfit for the meat outfit. That's when classic actually really started to look great. But then, a few years later, they changed it and it started to look a little bit more like this. So I don't know, maybe that tests better with kids. I don't know. To me, they just look a little cheaper. I guess that's the best I can describe it. So this is the best I've been able to do is in terms of Emily. And I really like her. I'm going to continue to hold on to her as part of Molly's collection. And I might even buy some like extra outfits and stuff for her. And that's, I guess, another note about my collection today, especially why you're seeing all of these early dolls in their meat outfits. It's not because I like got everybody dressed up for this video. It's just I don't have any extra outfits for most of them, except for maybe Kit. and Julie. But it's just so much to collect, right? Like collecting the original like Pleasant Company dolls through Josefina is so much. Like that costs thousands and thousands of dollars to buy all of that stuff, especially first edition and like mint in the box and everything. So I just haven't had space in my house and my budget to collect any extras for some of these historical dolls. So I've really just been trying to focus on getting really beautiful mint condition, like museum display worthy versions of these Mattel dolls, and trying to call it a day with that, because especially if you've been on the Patreon, I showed like the full like dirty guts tour of my doll display and my collection and everything. I've got displays in my room that I haven't shown on the internet before, and there's a couple of things I'm a little bit embarrassed about, honestly. So I saved that for the Patreon. So if you saw that last week, thank you for those of you that were very kind about it. But yeah, if you were on the Patreon, you saw my doll storage and how I've been storing my clothes, accessories, extra dolls, and you can see that it's just filled to the brim, and there's no room for collections for dolls like Emily and Nanea and certainly Marie Grace. So yeah, I'm really trying to stick to having just really beautiful versions of most of these dolls and not getting too crazy. Maybe I'll buy my favorite outfit for each of them, and maybe a Christmas outfit, and maybe a birthday outfit. I'm going to end up with the entire American Girl catalog as of like 2019 watch. Next up is Melody, whose last name I want to say is Ellison. I haven't dived too deep into her world, but I really love this doll. Even the new version, I will say, if you're not like super up to speed on what American Girl's been doing, they released Melody, and I don't remember what year, but in recent history, a while back, when they had this version of what we call the Sonali head sculpt. This is actually the head sculpt from one of the girls of the year, or her friend or whatever. From, again, I don't know years. There's like a big like gray area between like year 2000 and like 2020 that I'm really like rusty on, because I don't collect that era too much, and I don't like pay a whole lot of attention to it. So I'll get all the years like off. So I'm not even going to try and act like I know. But Melody's been around for a while though. And they used the head sculpt from a doll named Sonali that was, previously released. And she's like one of the most beloved dolls, and certainly one of the most beloved head sculpts in the American Girl world. But in recent years, they've actually changed the Sonali head sculpt quite a bit. Like they've moved the position of the eyes. I think they've made her head narrower. She like sort of looks like Sonali, but like definitely like almost like a bootleg version of Sonali. And I think that's why a lot of people don't like the change. Again, it's not that she's ugly, but she just is too many deviations from the original that we all love so much. And I am very famously into dolls with very round, like doll-like faces. And I just prefer like just aesthetically the original version of the Sonali head sculpt. So you can get either version of Melody. So I actually had to find a vintage one so that I could get the head sculpt that I wanted. Because if you go to American Girl now and buy a brand new one, she's available just like this from American Girl now. But you will get the new head sculpt for her. So she will look significantly different. Maybe a child might not know the difference, but if you're a collector, like really focusing on trying to get head sculpts that you really love and just versions of dolls that you think are the most beautiful you've ever seen, you pay attention to Melody, because the older ones, in my personal opinion, and most other like adult collectors, really prefer the original version of Melody. Again, she just has that really, really cute round face. And again, a micro bang, so I freaking love her. Like this is like my favorite thing in the world, is like a micro bang on a doll. So that's why like she and number 18 are some of my favorites, because I just love that micro bang. I think it looks so good. It's very 90s. Micro bangs were very big in the 90s and like maybe early 2000s too. I mean, thinking like Courtney Cox and like Scream 3, I think it was. She had like bangs that were like literally like a centimeter long. I love that. I think it's so fun. And I don't know, I associate micro bangs with feminism, so that's I guess also why I like them. But yeah, this is Melody, one of the most beautiful I've ever seen. I bought her vintage, and she's probably going to stick around. I will say I do not like this meat outfit, only because I don't like the colors. I think if this was in different colors, I would really like it. So I'm going to try and hunt down maybe one of my favorite items, like outfits from her collection, to maybe keep her in. I do have her most recent version of her pajamas that I really, really love, but I want to find something a little bit more exciting than a pair of pajamas for her, because she's a really cool doll and she's going to stick around for a while. Next up, we have Jan Brady. I mean, Julie. So This is, again, I think just one of my favorite dolls because one of my favorite movies of all time is the 90s Brady Bunch movie. And every time I look at this doll, certainly when I pick her up, like I literally have to do this, like walking like Jan Brady from the movie. I mean, look from the back. I mean, hello. I mean, there's got to be a way to make $20,000. I really should get one like to be Marsha as well, like so I can just fully like if I were to ever like do like playtime with my dolls, you know, it'll be like 11 o'clock at night with me alone in my bedroom with two blonde dolls sitting here going, "Oh, they're from my new boyfriend. New boyfriend? What's his name? George. George what? George Tropicana. Oh, really? I don't know anybody by that name at our SKU. All right, anyway, so yeah, I love that movie so much, and I've thought about it every single day ever since like 1995 or whatever year it came out. One of the best movies of all time, and Julie makes me think of that movie, so that's why Julie gets to say she's an iconic American Girl doll as well. I think she's been really popular. Her collection has gotten so freaking huge as like if you look back through time, she's gotten so many different versions of things. Like American Girl has really favored this doll, and I think especially because, you know, I guess Julie Gen X, I think, I just think it, like a lot of it has to do with parents being from the generation of like this doll's story. So they love buying that stuff for their kids. So Julie's probably been really popular over the last couple of decades as Gen X have become parents and have kids that are like American Girl doll um age, I guess you would say. So yeah, I think that that's probably a big reason for her popularity. But yeah, this is also another doll that tragically got the Be Forever treatment, and you know, most of us agree that her current Be Forever, like her current meat outfit that they refused to like switch back to this, is pretty, I don't want to say terrible, but I really don't like it. I agree, it looks like a Halloween costume, but this is very, to me, like this looks historical. This looks like something the Brady Bunch would have worn, and I don't know, I guess maybe they don't make it anymore because there's a lot of like pieces and parts to it, and it's probably just more expensive to make than the new one. And I don't know, maybe kids respond to the bright colors of the new Julie, like the new Jan Brady. So yeah, I gotta say, I really thought that they were gonna bring this outfit back because they've been bringing all the old outfits back, thankfully. I think that's the right thing to do. And unfortunately, Julie got her like her Be Forever like is resurfaced like last year. So, you know, we're not going to see this outfit come back for a long time, if ever. So you have to buy a vintage Julie. And I think she was released in 2007. So she had been around a while before they changed to Be Forever. I think she got a good like 10 years with this meat outfit. So you can find her if you want this meat outfit. And again, in my opinion, it's far superior to the Be Forever. But yeah, I also have an unboxing video of this doll that was one of my earlier videos if you want to go back and cringe binge and watch some older videos. So yeah, there's a whole video dedicated to her. And it's a really good video. Sure, Jan. All right, and one of the last best friend dolls that I have actually, like randomly, is Ivy. I just found her for a decent deal. Again, I think I paid about what she was worth, but she came with her box and everything and is in pretty good condition. She might be missing, let's not take her pants off on the video, but I swear she's like missing something, but maybe she's not. Maybe it was Julie. I got her with a second Julie who I am about to sell because I don't need to. I say that and like, I do have that second Julie. I could turn her into Marsha, but I need to be good. I have way too many dolls. So I'm thinking about selling this Ivy just because it's a lot, but I'm still not entirely sure. I still kind of would like to say that I was able to collect all of the historical dolls and be able to line them all up in their meat outfits and just be like, I did it. We did it, Joe. We got all of the American Girl historical dolls. And so that's why I'm kind of holding on to her for now. She's super cute and I love this haircut on her. Again, I think it just comes down to having like micro bangs, and if you got a micro bang, you're my best friend, even if you're a terrible person, apparently. Not that Ivy's a terrible person, I'm just saying sometimes people have interesting haircuts, but they're rotten people. Not you, Ivy. So anyway, yeah, this is my Ivy. Not a whole lot to say about her. She hasn't really been integrated into the collection, sort of like some of these other dolls, because I don't have space to display this stuff. So as I sell some other things, you know, maybe I'll spend some more time with her and maybe find her. I don't know about this meat outfit, y'all. I mean, it's very 70s, but that's probably why I don't like it. I overall don't really like the aesthetic of the 70s. It's very brown. And so, yeah, this is a cool doll. I'm going to hold on to her for a while, but there is a chance I might go ahead and sell her because she came with her box and everything, which, you know, that's something I had to pay for as an extra, and I don't really want or need the box, so I might sell her and maybe pick up a cheaper one if I want to hold on to her for a while. But yeah, this is my Ivy Ling doll that you might be surprised that I have because, again, sort of these like Mattel like tertiary characters are not a big part of my collection, but what can I say? I love every doll I've ever seen, even Chucky. So I feel like, you know, I'm going to enjoy any doll that I buy. So it just was fun to be able to get a hold of Ivy. Like I said, I might not have her forever, but I love that I've been able to see her. And like I said, I kind of want to put together a complete historical collection before kind of starting to pick some off and get it kind of down to my absolute favorites. But anyway, that's my justification for having Ivy Ling. All right, moving on to the 80s, we have my Courtney doll, which I believe there are a few videos on this channel of me unboxing her and a lot of her collection. I like just went completely, I was gonna say neck deep, like I went all in on Courtney. So I have everything they ever made for her except for the like 2 Care Bear sets, which I'm just basically trying to find good deals on ones that are still completely sealed. But other than that, I have every single item they ever made for her. Other than that, so that's including like the special, like, I don't know, they might be like store exclusives or something from her release day, but there are a couple of sets that are actually kind of like not super known about. Like, for instance, she has a set of pink leg warmers that were just, again, I think maybe like a store like event exclusive or something that took me a couple of years to track down. Finally, somebody stuck some on eBay and I got them. But yeah, every single thing they made for Courtney I bought because I love the way her collection looks. There are very few things in there that I'm even kind of like on. I love that they did basically her entire collection for the most part as like a mix and match, which has made her really fun to own as an adult because, you know, I like to change up my displays and kind of make things look different to keep it from like getting too stale. And I think it's just really cool to be able to try and like challenge yourself to come up with a cool looking outfit that's different. And, you know, it's just a fun challenge, I think. So I've had a lot of fun with Courtney as like a display doll. And, you know, I was born in the 80s, so I remember the 80s. So it's just been really fun. I've said fun like 1,000 times, but you know, Courtney is a nostalgic doll for me for different reasons, even though she didn't exist when I was a child. Her story is from when I was a child. So all of these like colors, and again, it's not perfect. I obviously have some notes as someone who actually lived during this time period, but for the most part, I just really love her. She is so clearly modeled after Stephanie Tanner. And I love that. She was my favorite Full House character. It certainly wasn't DJ. So yeah, I've really, really enjoyed having Courtney in my collection. That's why her like bed is kind of featured sort of on my backdrop and has been for a while. I just love everything about her collection pretty much. So yeah, this is what I have her in for now. I think this is her like meat tights and meat skirt, but I've got one of the best pairs of shoes they've ever made are these like Reebok dupes for, you know, again, were so common in the 80s. And weirdly, oh, and I also have her in sunglasses all the time because she's behind me on camera all the time. And if I don't have my dolls with sunglasses on, the camera picks them up as people. So basically the dolls are in focus and I'm sitting here like blabbering, like completely out of focus because apparently these dolls look more like a human than I do. So that's why she and my mini are always in sunglasses. It's just so the camera doesn't think they're people. But yeah, one of the fun things I did with this actually, so a lot of people hate the meat outfits that they currently have for the Truly Me dolls, which, you know, granted, I understand when you compare them to what they were doing in the 90s and early 2000s, like they don't cut it, right? They've obviously tried to cut costs to keep the prices of the dolls down, but it's been at the expense of having really good meat outfits. But I think one of the like most looked over meat outfits that they currently have for the Truly Me dolls is it's like a t-shirt dress, but it's like tie-dyed and it's pretty generic. They don't have any like crazy logos or anything on it. So this is a meat dress from a current Truly Me doll that I put on Courtney, and I've just obviously paired with other items from her collection. I think this looks great as a part of Courtney's collection, so I've just sort of integrated it into that. And that's, again, been kind of one of the fun things for me, too, with Courtney, is like trying to find things that, now that I have her entire collection and there's nothing else to buy, like trying to find like little ways of adding to it, which I think can be really, really fun as an adult collector of dolls. Because, you know, again, we kind of have to find ways of enjoying these things outside of just sticking them on a shelf and looking at them. So sometimes like finding things that seem like they're part of their collection is really fun. Like this Christmas ornament from Hallmark that I got that's like a basically a 1/3 scale version of the original Nintendo Entertainment System that actually plays music from Mario. So that's pretty cool, and actually plays the whole song, but you know, I'm not going to make you sit through it. That's been like a really fun thing about having Courtney and the Hoffman twins, who we'll see in a second, is like it's kind of fun to try and like remember things from my childhood era and find like 1/3 scale versions of them. So that's kind of like what I've been doing for Courtney now that I have her entire collection, and it's a really great one. I know I complain like many others about like the current classic head sculpt. I think I got a good one. This was I bought her I think in 2020. I think I bought her in 2022. I can't remember, but maybe it was 23. I don't know. I'm losing track of time. Who cares? But yeah, I think I got a really good one. She has a really nice face. Her curls have managed to stay intact, even though I've changed her like 1,000 times. But I have to say, yeah, a lot of people hate this. I shouldn't say a lot of people hate this doll, but like really like again chronically online American Girl collectors such as myself, I'm including myself in that category, don't really love Courtney the doll. So I'm not in that category. I actually think overall they did a really great job with her. It would have been interesting to see what she would have looked like with crimped hair, but I gotta say this like spiral perm is very iconic of the time period too. I really don't have any notes for Courtney. I really really love her, and her stories are great too. If you haven't read, like they like talk about AIDS and everything in her stories. I thought they did a really good job. With both of, I think there are only two books, but Courtney Changes the Game and Friendship something. Both really good books that I recommend. That actually they really helped me like fall that much more in love with Courtney as a character. So yeah, this is one of the dolls that will probably stay in my collection forever, even if I just absolutely crack it and like decide I'm going to sell almost everything. I think I'm still going to keep Courtney. I just think this is such a cool doll that reminds me of my childhood. All right, I tried to put her back and she looks passed out drunk, but you know what? We're just going to leave it that way. I guess she's drunk on fruit punch. Here you go. Have fun getting your stomach pumped. All right, and the last dolls from the Mattel era that we're going to look at today are also some of my absolute favorites. So we're going to start with the easiest one to grab. They're usually on camera here. I kind of consider them part of my vintage collection because obviously I have a fairly sizable at this point collection of actual vintage toys from the 80s and 90s, just things that I remember that most of it is stuff that I wanted that I wasn't allowed to have, you know, with a few things I had. But this is just sort of my way of like exploring. And finally, after, you know, decades of not getting to have those things, like it's just kind of fun to go back and be like, you know what? We were, you know, it's 30 years later, but we did it. You know, I can die happy knowing that I owned a caboodle. I tried to say caboodle and I started to say kombucha. But yeah, I can die happy knowing that I finally owned a caboodle, some Polly Pockets, a Babysitter's Club doll that looks like she has a thumb for a head, you know, all of that stuff. So I kind of like to display my Nikki and Isabel dolls with the vintage collection as well because their color palette is like so similar to the stuff I collect. I just love all those pastel colors. Like this is my favorite color right here, or one of them, but probably my favorite color is like a really pinky lilac color. So as you can imagine, like I absolutely lost my mind when I saw this doll for the first time a few years ago when they announced, you know, there's so many reasons I love the Nikki and Isabel dolls and collection and stories and everything. But when I saw this doll, like I lost my freaking mind, which is so funny because I'm definitely more of a Nikki. But this reminds me, as it does so many people, of like Clueless particularly, but also like Mary-Kate and Ashley from around that time period and Lizzie McGuire and just all of those things. Like even when you're a little gay boy, you know, you relate to girls a lot because, you know, misogyny and homophobia are ugly kissing cousins. So yeah, this brought back so many memories from that era. And I just get those feelings of nostalgia when looking at these dolls. So they get to hang out with the actual like vintage toy collection. And I have never taken Isabel out of this outfit because to me, it's like probably my favorite outfit that American Girl has ever made. I just have no notes for it. I think it is so good. It reminds me of a time where, you know, as all old people say, of a time where things felt a little bit easier and exciting. So I don't know. I get so happy when I look at this doll. And yeah, I love that they used Joss's head sculpt for these. I think it worked out really great. Again, this outfit is so perfect that I've never taken it off this doll, and she just will probably live like this forever. Although they do have a couple of outfits for her that I have and do really like, but they've just been sitting in the box because I just know as soon as I take her out of this, I'm going to want to put her right back in it. We'll see, maybe one day. And then finally, from the Mattel era, we have Nikki Hoffman, which when people ask me all the time, like, who your favorite American Girl doll is, I always have to ask, like, what are my parameters? Because obviously I'm going to pick like Molly or Samantha if I have to just pick my all-time favorite, because those were the ones I just begged and begged and begged and begged for when I was a kid. But if you ask which doll I relate to the most in terms of like stories, it's this one. Like this doll, again, shout out to Jennifer Roy and her twin sister Julia DeVellers, who basically created the universe for these dolls. They did a really good job, I think, of tapping into like what life was like in the 90s in Seattle. I'm so glad that they picked the Pacific Northwest for their setting, because it was so much about like grunge and Nirvana and Pearl Jam, like all. And for me personally, oh, you can't see it, but I have a gigantic, I almost said something that would probably be taken out of context really poorly. The band Hole, I have a gigantic poster of here. But again, that was just, I loved Hole. And I know most people don't consider Hole to be a Riot Grrrl band, which I agree with. But I just really loved them, and bands like Babes in Toyland. Like just all of those, like, you know, Olympia, Washington, Seattle, Portland. All of that was such a big part of like, as I was discovering music and figuring out more and more who I was when I was a teenager, all of that stuff really spoke to me. And I ended up living in Portland for like 15 years as well. So that, all of that is like really like a part of my soul, like deeply a part of my soul. So you know that when American Girl, another franchise that is so deeply part of my soul, came out with a character that basically was like a little baby Riot Grrrl, like I lost my mind. And so that's why she is, like, as far as characters go, probably my favorite, because this is like me as a 16-year-old. Actually, I'm going to give you a little treat because I dug it up recently. I'm going to show you a picture of me in the summer of the year 2000. And so nobody ever dare come for American Girl in terms of historical accuracy with Isabel and Nikki, because look at the comparison of these two. Again, this is me in the summer of the year 2000, and this is Nikki Hoffman with all of her official, like every single piece on her is official American Girl merchandise. Now, you tell me the historical accuracy is not spot on. All right, you're welcome. You got to see what I looked like 1,000 years ago when I was a teenager. So yeah, I love this doll for that reason. I like basically am Nikki Hoffman with maybe a couple of like noticeable differences, but I just really love this character. I love her collection. I've kind of got her dressed in an amalgamation of different pieces from her collection, but this is like, to me, sums up what like 13 to 15 was like for me. I just absolutely love this character. So yeah, this is my Nikki Hoffman, who I've really been very, very good and only bought one of them, but just know that I want like 1,000 of these dolls. I really, really, really like her. All right, so that's gonna do it for the Mattel era. I'm gonna take a quick break and we're gonna come back and start tearing through the real collection, the thing that I have been working on day in and day out for the last 4 years. We are gonna see some really, really awesome early Pleasant Company dolls. And again, it's sort of like the main event in my collection. So I'm so excited to show you the current progress of my doll collection. So yeah, I'm going to take a really quick break and go have lunch, but I will come back all refreshed and we're going to sit down and look at some of the coolest American Girl Pleasant Company dolls you have ever seen. All right, guess who's back? And I just realized I forgot to check the mirror. So if I have food in my teeth and or beard, please don't take a screenshot of it and post it on Reddit. My life is tragic enough as it is. All right, I didn't make any plans for this section of the video because I knew if I had to make a giant list with notes, I would never do this. So I'm literally just gonna be pulling dolls off of my display and my overflow display. Again, if you were on the Patreon, you saw this last week. I will show an updated Pleasant Company like collection display before long, but it's just not like in its best, like it doesn't look the best it's ever looked in many areas. So if you want to see it, join the Patreon. So yeah, I'm just gonna be grabbing random things. I think I'm just gonna start, I think we'll do Kirsten, Samantha, Molly, Felicity, Addie, Josefina. Does that sound like a good order to you? And there will probably be a lot of jump cuts of me from the future as I forget things that were like sitting in my closet or whatever. Again, I'm literally flying by the seat of my pants. So yeah, I'm just gonna start grabbing Kirsten dolls and I'm gonna show you all of my many early versions of Kirsten, Molly, Samantha, and the rest of them that I have. Starting with this Kirsten. So I actually do have like sort of my favorite dolls of each of these sort of in their winter wear, because it is February right now and it is freezing outside. So this feels cozy and appropriate. So I did do some effort this year of trying to make these dolls look at least halfway decent. I realize half the time I like turn the camera on, I'm like, oh, I didn't make a plan today. Let's look at a bunch of half naked dolls. And then somehow randomly the video will get like 30,000 views. I'm like, I probably should have put a little bit more effort in that video. So anyway, yeah, we put in effort today, and watch this video will get 5 views, but who cares? If you're one of the 5 people watching, I sincerely appreciate you. So this is a 1986 Kirsten. Kind of. This doll is actually a Samantha doll that I heavily customized because I bought her on Mercari. I think the seller told me a little fibberoonie about some modifications that had happened to the doll. This is certainly a 1986 Samantha with the small chipped rounded teeth. Chipped tooth is a collector term. It's basically how we describe a version of the original dolls that were only made in 1986. So that style of tooth is a guaranteed 1986 doll from the first 3 months the company, September, October, November, first 4 months of the company. So anyway, I think the seller had done an eye swap on the doll. The wig was in such bad shape and partially pulled off. So I said, you know what? This doll deserves a new life. She lives as Kirsten now. She is starting all over again. I absolutely love this outfit. So yeah, anyway, I put some... Again, I don't like to talk about how I customize some of these dolls because it basically coaches nefarious people on how to make fake dolls and sell them to people. So I don't really talk about that, but just know I used authentic parts to make this doll. So she basically looks almost exactly like a 1986 Kirsten that has the light blue eyes. Would look, again, collectors call her this version spooky. I don't like that term, so I always feel like I have to preface that every time I say this term, but like a light-eyed 1986 Kirsten. While she's not completely authentic, she looks authentic because I used basically authentic factory parts. So I really love this doll. She's, I have to say, I don't have my perfect Kirsten yet. I'm really trying to find a 1986 Kirsten with chipped teeth, with actually the standard blue eyes. People pay way more for this eye color, but I actually just want the standard color that was in the catalog. Chipped teeth, standard colored eyes, really curly eyelashes, and all original factory braids and original factory paint in her eyes. I'm going to show you the most perfect one that I have so far, but her eyes, I think, were repainted. I need to check my notes, but even still, I just want one that looks a little bit more like the catalog. But this is one of my favorite outfits for Kirsten. I even managed to put socks on underneath the boots. That's how you know I'm trying. If a doll has socks and underwear on, you know I'm a good doll dad. So I did right by this one, but just so you know, some of the dolls you're going to see today might not even have clothes on. So if that's something you don't like, maybe go watch something else. So, I mean, that would be one of many reasons to watch something else. But yeah, this is a sort of, I call her Camantha because, it's Kirsten, but she's technically Samantha. So this is Camantha, and she's sort of like the main doll I have on display right now because I like the look of her the best, even though I've got some like nicer dolls, like nicer Kirsten dolls. So while I'm thinking about it, I'm going to grab my like most perfect 1986 Kirsten that I've been able to find so far, just to kind of give you a comparison. All right, you might have seen this Kirsten before. She will often kind of chill in the background as part of my like vintage 80s and 90s toy display. This is one I bought off of Facebook several years ago, and again, I have to double check my notes to be 100% sure. I think her eyes have been repainted, but whoever did it did a good job. So I am happy with how she looks. She has her original factory braids, which is awesome. And this meat outfit I had to piece together for her. It's not original to her. There are a couple details that are just slightly, mainly one detail that I'm not even going to talk to you about because I'm trying to find this and it's very difficult. But there's one detail that tells me that her accessories aren't a perfect 1986 set, but her necklace is. So this is an actual 1986 necklace with the hardware that only goes halfway through the heart and not all the way through. So yeah, really minor detail, but it does fetch a lot of money if you find one on eBay and want to flip it. But yeah, this so far is like my perfectest Kirsten that I have. She's beautiful. I love her, but she doesn't have that like freaky look. I love like 80s Pleasant Company dolls that look like they're witnessing like a really gruesome car accident. I probably have childhood trauma that's unresolved, and maybe that's why I like that. But this Kirsten looks too pretty and chill for my collection. I like them freaky. Also, I try to be good and not have every single doll we're looking at today in their meat outfits, because like seeing that blue dress like 50 times gets to be a bit redundant. But yeah, I tried a little bit, I have to say. I Not too hard. This doll doesn't even have a shoelace in this shoe. And I have like 1,000 shoes for Kirsten. Like, this is egregious. So yeah, this is not that kind of channel. So this is the first Kirsten doll I ever purchased, which would have been back in 2021. I bought her on eBay when I knew absolutely nothing, and $40 for any Kirsten doll was like a really good deal. So I bought her. I think from memory, she had silver eye. So these aren't her original eyes. I've replaced them with, again, some eyes from the same factory as the American Girl factory. So she looks, again, she's a like what like collectors would call she has dreamer eyes, like they're a specific eye part. But she's not like a doll from this era. She's tan body, like she's gonna flash you. So this like is a really weird like. I just like the way this doll looks. She's not customized correctly in a way that would make her look passable as like an authentic 1987 Dreamer Kirsten, because this doll I want to say is from like 1993, 92, 93ish, very early 90s, and she wouldn't have eyes like this. But I just had them lying around. They were nice eyes. They look really good in her with her coloring and everything. So yeah, this is probably one of the lesser exciting dolls in my collection, because this is just one that I bought as I was kind of learning Pleasant Company, and I just originally thought I was going to buy one of each doll, fix them up, and just kind of have them, maybe even as just Christmas decorations. You know, boy, was I wrong. So yeah, this was like the first Kirsten doll I ever had. I did a halfway decent job braiding her hair. She's in like one of the, like, this is an authentic promise dress. I don't know if they call it promise dress or plaid dress or whatever, but this is one of the more expensive dresses for Kirsten. That's from, I think it's from the Mattel era. I think, yeah, it has an American Girl tag on it. But I remember during the pandemic, these were selling for like $300 or $400 at one point. But now you can kind of get them for like $150 if you're like trying to pay market value. I got this one for 15 doll hairs. All right, since we're on about Dreamers, I'll go ahead and show you probably, this might be my favorite Kirsten doll in my entire collection. If we're just talking like run-of-the-mill doll, like just standard, like the Playline non-collector versions or whatever. This is probably, actually, no, she's still my favorite of all of them. Scratch that. Here's my favorite Kirsten doll in my collection. I've tried to dress her kind of interestingly. Look, I'm not a fashion person. I just try and layer them up because I think it looks good. And that's one of the, like, I think the coolest things about American Girl dolls, it's so funny that, like, they're obviously not considered fashion dolls. Like, a fashion doll is going to be like a 1/6 scale doll like a Barbie, or yeah, 1/6. And so it's just kind of interesting to me that like Barbie has not really had good high quality fashions basically since like the 70s. But American Girl, even still, but like especially like in the 80s and 90s, they had like, there's just like all of the extra layering and details and stitching and trims and all of that stuff, I think, is what makes these dolls look so high quality and just, I don't know, like collector's items, like keepsakes. So I really love layering them up. And obviously this is a mix of like different pieces from different outfits, but you know, I was feeling my oats one day and I don't know, usually like if I'm on the phone or something and need something to fidget with, I'll just like put clothes on a doll. It keeps me from like, I don't know, like spontaneously combusting. So yeah, this is my actual authentic Dreamer Kirsten, who I acquired recently. I got her last year, but it was within like the last, I don't know, I want to say I got her, it was sort of towards the end of the year, but I'd had one in my collection for a while that we actually saw on this channel, but something about this one just really spoke to me. And she's actually kind of difficult to recognize as a quote unquote Dreamer Kirsten because she's got sort of smaller eye sockets. And a lot of people will think that being able to see the whites under a doll's irises is what makes them a dreamer, but it's actually just the eye part that they use to make them. And either Kirsten or Molly can have that eye type, and Kirstens are a lot more rarer. I think they only did one batch of Dreamer Kirstens, and I have a sneaking suspicion they did 2 batches for Molly. So I think you just see Molly Dreamer, like Dreamer Mollies, show up more commonly than Kirsten. And for a while, it was really, really hard to find one when people were snatching dolls off of eBay, Etsy, Poshmark. Like you just could not find a Dreamer Kirsten back in the height of like the 2021 collecting. So these dolls were selling, like Dreamer dolls at one point were selling for $3,000. And so like right now they're still expensive. Typically a Kirsten doll, you might still pay like upwards of $1,500 for one. So Kirsten has kind of held her value as a dreamer, not as like insane as like $3,000, but I basically ended up finding this one for a market price. I bought her on eBay just because I liked the way she looked. And I got her and I compared to my other one, and I just decided to sell the one that I'd had for a while. I actually have a bad memory associated with it, even though it's not about the doll specifically, it's about a person. So I was like, I just think about that person every time, and this doll needs to go to somebody who will actually appreciate her and her beauty. So this is actually a less dreamery looking dreamer than my last one, but I do really love her. Again, you can't really see a lot of the whites under her eyes, but her irises are that 1 millimeter smaller than the standard American Girl doll. And she just has like a really, I don't know, I think these dolls look like they're looking right into your soul. Like, I don't know, they're very uncanny, but I love that. Some people really hate these, but I really wish American Girl had kept this or like the iris diameter, because I do think that like the current, like in what they've used most of these, I'm like looking at my Truly Me dolls and everything. Some of these dolls look like they have taken 4 hits of acid. Their eyes are just like, it's no sclera whatsoever. It is all iris. So yeah, they look a little bit messed up. So this is why I love the Dreamer dolls, even though like this one is not wanting to hold on to her hat. So yeah, this is probably my favorite Kirsten in my collection. Maybe she should be the main display. Oh, I guess the reason I didn't put her in the winter outfit is because of the hand knit woolens that are like part of Kirsten's winter garb, I guess we'll say. They're so tight, like that the toboggan, what did normal people call them, beanies on her head is so tight and messes hair up. And this doll has factory braids, so I'm not obviously going to try and mess up the braids on a dreamer. So I'm trying to keep her as like pristine as I can, because these are like factory braids basically. So again, one of my favorite, if not my favorite Kirsten in my collection right now. I think she's so cute. Don't judge me for this absolute abomination of an outfit that I have her in. All right, here's a neglected doll I'll show you real quick. I consider her part of my collection, even though I might consider selling her. This is one, I actually put her together on Patreon. I had a whole video. I can't even remember what I was talking about in the video, but this is also a custom Kirsten. So this is an authentic 1987 Big Tooth Kirsten, and I actually customized her with the quote-unquote spooky eyes like the first Kirsten we looked at. So I basically went through that whole process on Patreon, did a whole video. Again, I have no idea like what kind of BS I was talking about during the video, but we put her together. I think she looks pretty good. Her wig, I think, I could probably find a better wig for her, which is probably why she's like has not been in an outfit probably in months. But I'm going to hold on to her. At some point, I probably will sell her, because I think at the end of the day, I'd really like to have no customs in my collection as far as like things that I've kind of hacked together. I'd rather have everything be completely like factory original. So she'll get kicked to the curb one day. Oh, and I guess for those of you that care about white body versus not white body, all of the Kirstens you've seen so far are white body, except for the one in the promise dress, the one that like from the early 90s. The rest of them are white body. I've really like just stopped like I think it's a big thing for some people that like they really like want to have a white body in their collection as part of like, one of the original things that was like part of the original Pleasant Company line. That was obviously like a really big shift in the early days, is going from the white muslin bodies to the tan fabric bodies. So I do appreciate that, and I certainly like went through that with my collecting as well. I kind of felt like when I got my first white body, that was like how I signaled to myself that I felt like I was a collector at that point, because I was starting to pay more for things than just like buying dirty old like $20-$40 dolls on eBay. But that's like in hindsight like a really silly thing I think that I was thinking, because it's certainly like having a white body doll in your collection doesn't like validify, is that a word? Doesn't validify your collection in any way, unless it's just something that you want to have. But that's, again, I've talked about, not that to plug my Patreon for the 1,000th time, but I've been talking a lot on Patreon about how I'm trying to reframe my the way I collect and like the things that make me happy and the things that I would want to consider my collection complete, and just talking about compulsive buying and all of that stuff. So I guess all of that's to say is like most of the next three dolls that you're going to see are, most of them will be white body, but just know that it's like, I don't really care. I just basically like that the dolls are early, but I don't care that the torso is actually white. Like they typically have clothes on if they're not this one. So yeah, I do think that the white body thing can be a little bit overrated if I'm perfectly honest. I think at the end of the day, collecting stuff that is meaningful to you and things that you, and dolls that you think are like, that you personally think are like the best looking dolls, that's what's important. Because I've seen lots of really, really fugly white body dolls, and I've owned a lot of them too. And as time has gone on, like I've realized that there are like so many white body dolls in existence, like tens of thousands of them. They are less rare than like the collector dolls that American Girl is making now. So I just don't think white body is like a really big priority for me. It's just, I like the early stuff, so they're white body by default. But like I said, I've seen a lot of dolls from like Y2K, like 1999 and the year 2000, that are so much nicer looking than especially some of the later like 80s white body dolls. So keep that in mind. Don't get like sucked up into the hype of like, oh, I have to have a white body doll. If you find other dolls that you actually like more when they're in their outfits and stuff. So I guess that is just sort of a disclaimer I have to say too, is like, I don't specifically prioritize white body, even though you're going to see a lot of them. It's just because I like collecting first editions and they happen to be white body. But believe me, if I was just keeping one doll and didn't care about first editions, a lot of what I would be buying is not from this era. Just to put that out there. Now, I have a couple more Kirsten dolls that are in storage. One of them I'm going to pull out of storage and do at the end of this video because it's really, really exciting. And I don't think I have a picture of one, but I have a mint in the box, like from an original employee of Pleasant Company, a 1991 tan body Kirsten who has what collectors call tinsel hair, which basically means she has some like completely clear strands in her hair that catch the light that make it kind of glitter like tinsel. I kind of bought her as what I would consider to be like my actual childhood doll. I always kind of like say 1991 is probably about the time that I really discovered these dolls and really, really, really wanted them. So that's really more of like the tan body era. So I've been trying to find 1991 dolls that are just completely untouched and have never seen the light of day. And I ended up finding one a few years ago on eBay. She's like in deep storage, so I can't show her to you unless I can find a picture of her, but I don't think I have a picture of her. I'll try. But she is like the most mint doll you will ever see as far as like vintage, and she still has like the rubber band around her waist from memory. So I kind of think of that as like my childhood Kirsten that I never got. And I spent a fortune on her. I think I spent like $750 on her. And this was back in like the height of the craziness of everything. That was way too much to spend on that doll. And I'll probably will have to have her forever. I will never get my money back on that. But I will say I've never seen one that pristine ever since. So I am kind of glad that I bought her, even though I had to pay like a complete fortune. I did find, actually, I'm going to go grab her. She's on the kitchen table. I did pick up one recently just to enjoy for a little while that she'll probably end up in my shop, as will some of these dolls that you'll see today. But I do have a really mint doll that I'm going to show you. This literally arrived just a few days ago. I found her on eBay, and not like a slamming deal, but she was, I bought her for a little less than I think that she was worth. And I was excited to get a hold of her and have her for a little while just because she was so minty. And I really love getting mint condition dolls from my childhood era because it kind of, makes me feel like a kid again, and like I get to actually experience this like finally. So the box band wasn't included, unfortunately, but look how crisp, like, I mean, it's hard to find them like perfectly perfect, but honestly, like they probably arrived from Pleasant Company in 1992 like this as well. She even had like the original rubber band like on her feet. So this is a 1992 Kirsten. She actually came with her original receipt that is in here. I'm going to try not to dox the person that was the original owner, but this doll is from March 4th, 1992 is the date that she was purchased. And they've blacked out their address, so you can kind of see the original Pleasant Company receipt. Like, that's such a cool thing to have for a doll, is the original purchase receipt, because this is what it was like back in 1992. We didn't have the internet to send us an email of our order. So the person that owned her previously had put her meat accessories on her, but they did include the original box. And again, it's completely pristine. But this is, minus the meat accessories, exactly what a Kirsten looked like in 1992 in March. If you had ordered her and unboxed her, this is what she looked like. Basically, factory perfect. I don't know if you can tell this on camera, but this is a completely unfaded meat dress, and this blue fades over time. I Now people might argue, and it's possible that there was like a lighter blue version of this, but I just think that most of them have faded over the years because I've seen lots of different variations in the blue, and I just think that they fade under UV light really, really easily. And this doll was stored in the box all of these years, and she is perfect, pristine. I mean, look at this hand tag, like the hair care, not a single dent or crease. Yeah, this feels like childhood to just be able to see a doll this completely perfect. No silver eye, factory braids, like the original bows in them. Welcome to my 1992 Kirsten doll unboxing. So yeah, I'm a freaking idiot and forgot that her rubber band had disintegrated, so she wasn't actually strapped into the box, and she did a huge nosedive. And thankfully, I have put a nice plush rug in this room to absorb sound and also impact from dolls that are apparently like ready to end it all. So yeah, no damage, thankfully, but I did have a mini heart attack right there. So I guess now we can actually see what an original unboxed 1992 Kirsten looks like. Thankfully, no dents or damage to the hand tag either. That was a close one. Yikes. So anyway, that's a doll that recent to my collection. I'm probably going to keep her for a little while, but ultimately she needs to be put in the shop because I already have a mint one from 1991 and I don't need one from every single year. That used to be like one of my original goals, is I was actually thinking about trying to get one doll for every year from 1990 or 1986 all the way through at least 1994, but probably like 1998, just to have one for every year that Pleasant Company was a thing. So yeah, I need to abandon that idea because that's too many dolls. But let me tell you, it's really tempting because this doll is despite falling out of her box, is factory perfect. So I'm going to gently put her away and probably keep her out of my arm's reach for the next little while because clearly I am a danger to her and everyone around her. All right, if you notice that I'm suddenly wearing a hat, it's because it's day 2 of filming, and this is going to get interspersed through everything because I found some things digging through my closet last night, but I don't really care about continuity, and I would love like 5 minutes to not think about my stupid ass hair. So if I look different in a few clips, I think we'll all live. I guess we'll bring a buddy in for today. This is my dreamer Kirsten that I don't even know if you've seen her yet in this video, but here she is. We're just a couple of hat guys talking about dolls. This is a Kirsten doll I found in storage after filming like the bulk of this video. She, I think, is not maybe particularly remarkable, like to glance at her, just like as far as like a white body goes, but she is actually an official 1986 Kirsten. She has the straight wig cap edge on the back, and really, her main issue is that her hair was super thin when I got her. So I've added a couple of wefts in here, but I think I need to add a few more because her hair is still a little bit thin. Especially if you're planning on braiding a doll's hair and it's thin, you really notice it when it's in braids. But if you can kind of like tease it out like this one is, you can kind of hide it. Now, that said, I kind of think of this one as like my birthday Kirsten, because the one from the catalog, if you can remember or have seen like the original 1987 like product photo for Kirsten's birthday story, they for some reason like took her hair out of the braids and just like absolutely teased. What does Jinx Monsoon say? She's like, they tried to tease it, but they just pissed it off. So that's basically what her hair looks like in the catalog. It's like super duper fried looking, like she stuck her finger in an electrical socket, like, or like she looks like Debbie at the end of Addams Family Values. So yeah, I'm just kind of going for that look, at least for now. So, I haven't worked on this doll in like 2 years, but theoretically I should be like adding some more hair to her and getting her fixed up. She has a really, really beautiful face. Again, just like a quintessentially like 1986 head mold, and really, really great eyes with curly eyelashes. I think this one will look really, really great if I could actually spend some time on making her look nice. But again, like you've seen, I just have so many projects and some of them scream louder than others. So yeah, it's probably a shame that this one is sort of in shallow storage for now, because she really is actually one of the prettier more or less all original Kirsten dolls that I have. So yeah, maybe this will inspire me to do some work on her. But this is an official 1986 Big Tooth White Body Kirsten. All right, I think the last of the Kirsten dolls in my possession are, other than the one we're going to look at the end of the video, is my two limited edition St. Lucia collector Kirsten dolls that we saw, I think, one of them in a previous video, so you can go back and watch that if you want to see her. She is in my display up here, but she's on the very top shelf with a bunch of other boxes and stuff around her. And based on what just happened with 1992 Kirsten, I'm going to leave that one put. Now, I do have two of them, and I typically will buy, especially if it's a doll I think it's going to sell out, I will buy two of them just so that I can make sure I can get one that I really like. Because I made the mistake early on when buying like the 35th anniversary dolls. I bought a Molly doll, and she sold out between me purchasing her and me getting her. And I ended up getting one with a really bad defect. She had like this big chunk of hair cut out of her braid. It was really odd, and American Girl couldn't replace her for me because the doll was sold out. So that was a really big issue, and which I didn't appreciate. Somehow I ended up getting a second one. I don't remember how, but so yeah, that's kind of like basically scared me into buying anything that's limited, buying two of them, and then just selling the one that I ended up, because I don't need like multiple versions of that. And you could argue that I don't even need that St. Lucia collector doll. So I've got one that's up there. I'm going to sell the other one. I don't need two of them, but that's going to do it for Kirsten. Let's go ahead and move on to Samantha. I got some, oh, I guess before we move on to Samantha, I'm going to try and insert some photos here because I did put my signed dolls into deep storage. And so I ended up taking a photo of each of my signed dolls that are stored. So I'm going to show you on screen, like right now, my signed Kirsten doll that I ended up purchasing, I want to say in like 2023, maybe. It's possibly 2022. I can't remember. I was still living in Portland at the time. I just like found a really good deal on her on eBay, I think it was. I got her for a good deal. She came with a bunch of original stuff, and we got some good news the same day that I purchased her. So yeah, she feels like a lucky doll. So I've continued to hold on to her despite trying to look for a lower number signed doll. One in the 700s is still a really low number, and I think something to be proud of having, but she's just in storage right now because the way like I'm set up here is there's too much light that gets on these dolls, and signatures from like the 80s Pleasant Company dolls, they fade really, really easily. So I don't keep dolls in daylight that are signed by Pleasant Rowland because I've just seen some that are barely visible because they've had too much light on them. They're really, really sensitive, like non-permanent signatures. So yeah, that's why my signed dolls are in storage, is because they, where my dolls are now, they get too much light on them for me to be comfortable with the signatures not fading. So yeah, that's why Kirsten's in storage now. All right, now let's move on to Samantha. All right, we're coming right out the gate with my favorite Samantha in my entire collection, who is a recent acquisition. I don't know why I'm talking like that, like I'm educated. She is a recent purchase. I got her a few months ago. I want to say somewhere around August of last year. A lot of the dolls we're seeing today, they're like, especially like the historical, like Pleasant Company era, a whole, like, I haven't added a ton of those dolls to my collection in the last year. North Carolina's been a weird experience. Again, I'm not going to get into it, but there's just been a lot going on, and I've been really, really picky about what I've been adding to my Pleasant Company collection because the stuff that I'm looking for now is all really, really, really expensive stuff. The most expensive American Girl dolls you can buy are the ones that I am continuing to perfect and add to my collection. And while I have most of them, there's still ones that I'm wanting to find better versions of that are like more minty or more pretty. So while I do have a couple of the original 1986 amber-eyed chip tooth Samanthas, which again, amber eyes just means the light color version of the eyes that Pleasant Company only used for about 12 months. And the chip teeth, like we said earlier, are the small, often rounded, but just very small paint in the gap, paint in the tooth gap teeth that were only around in 1986. So this is probably the single most scratch everybody's eyes out doll to get. I have seen some really unsisterly gross conduct on Facebook and eBay over dolls like this, which, this and it's basically this attitude is why I don't participate in vintage collector communities on Facebook anymore, because of how insane people get over dolls like this. But I do get it. This is like one of the prettier dolls I think that American Girl has ever made. These original Samanthas. They just make everybody lose their absolute minds and act absolutely crazy with the hoarding and the fighting and the sneaky backdoor deals. And it's just, I feel like I complain about this too much. But it has, I think, kind of tainted my love for true, like the truest, oldest vintage Pleasant Company stuff. Like those Facebook groups were really fun for a while, but then it kind of has that stank on it of greed and selfishness. Anyway, we won't focus on that today, after I just did a spiel on it. But this is, in my opinion, the prettiest 1986 Samantha that I have ever laid my eyes on, which is why I bought her, because like I said, I do have two of them. One of them I'm definitely going to sell, and the other one is signed, and if I find a lower number, I will sell her as well. But anyway, this one I just thought had the most perfect head sculpt, and they really vary. Like these original 1986 dolls can look super duper different depending on which mold was used and how it kind of cooled when it came out of the original cast. So they can look very, very different. And personally, I actually don't like the lightest eyes that Samantha's had. I've definitely seen some of the 86 Samantha dolls. The eyes are so light that they're almost like hard to look at. I don't know, they just don't live in harmony with the doll. So this one has fairly light eyes. These are definitely considered amber eyes, but she doesn't not look like Samantha. I still think that they look nice and brown, and I tend to prefer Samantha with darker eyes, but I just could not get over how beautiful this doll was. She has the most perfect head sculpt, like right out of the mold. And her hair is got its original factory curl, even though it's been taken out of the ponytail. I actually prefer it down from the ponytail. I just think it frames her face nicer. And I've done my best to really dress her in just like the most perfect 1988 first edition cape. Like this is the one I have dressed for winter. She has the original version of the cape with the velvet collar, and the 1988 version of the hat and muff. The hat is a lot bigger in the first year of this. This doll I think might actually take the cake for the prettiest doll that you're going to look at today, because again, this is like, to me, quintessential Pleasant Company, a 1986, pretty much mint condition Samantha. Again, I just think one of the most beautiful dolls in the world. I'm so lucky to have her. It's why I dropped, I could probably charge more for her than I paid if I decided to sell her. I have a feeling I will never sell this doll because I just don't think I've ever seen one prettier than this. But I don't know if I want to tell you what I paid for her. If you're on Patreon, you know, but just know that it was a lot of money. It was more than most dolls. Not every doll, but this is one of the most one of the dolls that I paid the absolute most for, like cash out of pocket for. And I think it was worth every penny, because this is, to me, the height of Pleasant Company, and what makes Pleasant Company so special is just these gorgeous, gorgeous original dolls that have that handmade artisan look, and everyone is a little bit different. I absolutely love this Samantha. This is another 1986 chip tooth amber-eyed Samantha, and you can actually see, like, just to look, I wanted to do this one next because you can see how different this doll looks in comparison to the last one we just looked at. I love this doll, and I've had her in my collection for a few years, but she's probably one I'm going to let go of. I've really tried to get to the point where I'm not hoarding duplicates of things. Inevitably there are going to be some of my absolute favorite things that I might want to have two of, but an amber-eyed Samantha is not something I really want to have like 10 of. They're worth a whole lot of money, and a lot of collectors are still looking for their first one, so it really doesn't make sense for me to hold on to this one. That said, she did come in her original box, and I think I'm going to keep the box even if I sell this doll. But yeah, this is still a really great Samantha. She has her original factory curls and the original factory sectioning. So a really great quality collector doll. Again, these are all white bodies. Yeah, this again at one point was like the crown jewel of my collection, but you collect long enough and you find one that just speaks to you a little bit more than the last. And so that's how I collect anyway. A lot of people don't. A lot of people get really attached to like their first, and it's like, this is my Samantha. But I try not to get too terribly attached to any one doll, just because I know if I do that, then I will never get rid of anything, and that won't allow me to add new things to my collection. So, she's here for a good time, not a long time, and I feel like I've been a good steward of this very rare, incredibly sought after doll. And I think it's time to find her a new home. But yeah, so this one will probably end up in my shop before too terribly long. I'm actually working up towards like a really, 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 really big doll purchase. So I'm going to need to sell her to kind of, compensate for the absolute mint that I'm hopefully about to drop on another doll that you will see soon enough. But yeah, another really great 1986 Samantha that has been with me and brought me lots of joy. And like I said, I think she's going to bring somebody else lots of joy very soon. While we're at it, if you want to look at another 1986 Chip-Tooth Samantha, this is another one that's been in my collection for years. I actually bought this one, I want to say it was either 21 or 22. I can't remember. It might have been 22. But this was the first Chip-Tooth Samantha that I ever bought. She wasn't my first 1986, and she doesn't have the amber eyes. So I actually got her for a better deal, especially at the time. Like a doll like this, if she had had the light amber eyes at the time, was selling on average for about $3,000. They have come down a little bit, but just no. I mean, if you want a amber-eyed Chip-Tooth Samantha, just know that you're paying in the thousands, if not multiple thousands. But I got a fairly decent deal considering I got some of her original collection with her as well. I paid in the thousands for her, but I was really, really excited to finally add a true Chip-Tooth 1986 Samantha to my collection. And she's been with me ever since. And as of right now, I don't think I want to sell her, mainly because she is the version of many versions that they made, basically. Or I shouldn't say version, but like variations based on who was putting the doll together in the Goods factory. This one is the one that has the insanely long bangs. We're talking like, I'm doing this for you. I normally hate doing this because her bangs are so hard to figure out how to style. But her bangs, if you can see here, like this is me pulling her bangs down. It goes down to her chin. And so, again, whoever was making Samantha dolls that day in the factory just, I think, had never seen a micro bang or anything in their life. So yeah, a few of these earliest Samanthas. I have not seen this on Kirsten or Molly even, I don't think. But some Samanthas, if you're lucky, you can find one with, oh, I say lucky. These are actually kind of the bane of my existence. They're really hard to style, but these are truly uncut Samantha bangs from 1986. And like I said, they are just impossibly long. And so that's why, in my opinion, I think that we see a lot of Samantha dolls with cut bangs. When you go to buy an original 1986 Samantha and her bangs are all like kind of like chopped and blunt like this, I think it's because they probably got a doll with bangs this long, or maybe not even quite this long. But the parents or the kid has gone in to cut the bangs just so you can see the doll's face, because I mean, this is absolutely ridiculous. You really have to work with these to kind of style them in a way that doesn't look insane. But I do love having this doll because of that reason. It's just so hard to find ones with bangs this long, because if they've been in the possession of a child or maybe even a collector, they have gone in with scissors and just, because it's really hard to appreciate the beauty of the doll's face because there's just so much bangage. And again, it's just really hard to style. But I love this doll for that reason, because she's such a rare gem. And I would say there are probably actually fewer of the Chip-Tooth Samantha dolls that have these darker eyes than the like brighter amber colored eyes. So she's actually a little bit rarer, in my opinion, than the one that everybody pays more money for. So that's kind of cool too. I love having rare things because I'm a collector and I have that like mental disorder that makes me want things that nobody else has. But yeah, I love having her. I think she has such a gorgeous like head sculpt, and again, just really interesting because of those long bangs. I've had her for years and I just absolutely love it. She also came with the original, you probably can't see it, but there are two versions of the locket. There was like, for a very, very short time in 1986, there's like a handful of dolls basically that they had meat accessories that had a different pattern on their locket, and they're really, really hard to find. And I think I have probably 3 or so of them just because I have dolls that came with them. But yeah, she also has the rare locket on her as well, which is kind of fun. All right, yet another 1986 Samantha. I'm sure you're sensing a theme here. I really love Samantha from 1986, and as you will see, 1987. And I'm sorry you're seeing a bunch of Samantha's meat outfits. I'm lazy, and especially dolls that are mint condition, I generally do not like to change them out of their meat outfits. And this is a mint condition 1987 or 1986 Samantha with the big teeth and the darker eyes. Again, a very rare combination for 1986. Probably the least sought after combination, but also probably the rarest, which is kind of funny. But she has, again, the same head mold, like was pulled out of the same head molds as the chip tooth version, but these teeth were hand painted in 1986. For those first couple of years, they were hand painting the teeth on. So it just depended on the artistic style of the person that was making them, whether they got the tiny little chip teeth or the really, really big teeth. And this, I don't know what that was. She looked like she had been face down in a big pile of cocaine, but it's probably dust. But yeah, this is the big tooth version from 1986. And again, without turning this into a super educational video, she's just got a few features on her that I know she's 86 and not 87. One of them being that she came with the original rare locket that was only available in 1986. And she has a wig cap, which again, I don't want to mess her hair up. This is factory set hair in the original ponytail, so I don't want to mess it up too much, but she has the wig cap version that was only made in 1986. So yeah, that is my one of many 1986 Samanthas, but again, just very cool. I'm going to grab, because I think this is our last 86 we're looking at today, I'm going to grab the first one we looked at just so you can kind of see the comparison of how different they look. These dolls were both 1986 dolls, and you can see again the difference in the eye color and the tooth shape and even some of the face paint. Like, yeah, it's very likely that these were made within days of each other. Again, it just really depends on who the person was making the dolls that kind of make them look a little bit different than the last one. But yeah, these dolls are the exact same age basically, and they look this different. That's what makes collecting these earliest dolls so much fun and also so frustrating because they all look so different. You really don't want to sell any of them because you're like, this looks so like if I just wanted a 1986 Samantha, I mean, hello, like who do you choose? Like, I mean, I know which one I'm choosing, but it's like, this looks like a completely different doll to me. It's so like, it's just so difficult. And it's like fun, but it's also like really frustrating because they all, like literally every single one looks different from the last. Here's another Samantha you might have seen before. I've had her for years. I might have bought her like literally like 3 or 4 years ago. And for the longest time, she was the prettiest Samantha that I owned. This is a 1987 deep brown eyed Samantha. Now she has what some people might call big teeth, but I would say that she's more of a standard tooth Samantha. I think that she was a Christmas present in 1987. So I think she was made somewhere around probably like the summer or maybe fall of 1987. So probably about a year after the very first dolls were made, but she still has that essence of like the original Samantha's. She kind of has a little bit of that uncanny look. My partner will sometimes say that the dolls that have this look almost look like somebody like stretched skin over their face, like they look like they're wearing somebody's skin as a mask. But I really love that look. I love freaky looking dolls, so it doesn't like affect me if they look like freaky or whatever. But I just really love the way she looks. She has really nice curly eyelashes. I bought her from her original owner. So yeah, again, I paid what the pretty tax on this one. This doll was probably worth about $350 at the time, $350 at the time. And again, I want to say 2021, maybe 2022. And I paid about $450 for her. So I would still pay that. Now, I think that like if I was going to sell her, which I don't have intentions of, at least right now, I would still sell her for what I paid for her because I think she's worth that. She's incredibly beautiful. And people always ask about her too. If they like see her kind of in the background of a photo or whatever, they'll be like, who's that over there? So she really has a look that a lot of people like. And I think she has really nice, like full bangs, especially considering she's a 1987. I just really love this Samantha. I've had her for a long time and I'm, plan on keeping her. Here is a 1987 Big Tooth Samantha that I forgot was in storage that I actually found last night when I was digging through, like sort of desperately looking for my Dreamer Molly that I was trying to find. And this is one I've had for a few years. I bought her on eBay for what I think was a pretty good deal. It wasn't like a steal, but she had her original box, which is very difficult to find these like original 1987 boxes with the ribbon strapped around the lids. So I picked her up immediately. I knew she was a big tooth doll when I bought her, but her eyes were closed. So I knew she was worth at least like what the least valuable big tooth doll was worth, but I didn't know what her eye color was. And it turns out after I'd purchased her and like gone about my day, the seller messaged me saying like, hey, I'm getting a bunch of emails from people asking to see photos of her eyes. Is there something I don't know? So of course, those dirty little rats that lurk in Facebook groups and steal good luck and deals from other people in the community were trying to figure out if this was an amber-eyed Samantha, and she ended up not being, so they all backed away. But had this doll had the amber eyes, I probably wouldn't have been able to even keep the deal I had on her. Although this was a really good seller. Funnily enough, I bought something else super rare from her that somebody else tried to like weasel their way in and take from me, but she actually honored the original sale, especially because I paid like a pretty good price for it. But yeah, this was a good seller. I enjoyed doing a transaction with her, but this is one I like kind of had to fight for because again, just like dirty little rats in our community that think they deserve other people's good luck try to take her from me. But I've had her for a while. I really love her. She sort of has that like quintessential 1987 look to her face. I think she's incredibly beautiful. Again, not a whole lot to say about her. She definitely has like loosey goosey like cat clock legs, but this is her original stringing, and I generally don't like to restring dolls if I don't have to. If it's one that's like maybe not quite as old, I might, just so it's a little bit easier to stand on its own or whatever. But I really don't like removing stuffing from dolls and changing their stringing if I don't have to. And I do like to display some dolls seated, so generally like if their legs are super loose like this, I'll just have them be a doll that's seated on display, and that way I don't have to worry about like restringing her or changing too much of her originality. I probably should maybe tighten up her curls a little bit, maybe. But all in all, I think she displays great, when she has shoes on. But yeah, I really love this doll, even though I've gotten a few other big tooth 1987 Samanthas. This one has just managed to hang around. I really like her. I think she has a great face. So one of the more crazy things about this video, and I guess my collecting brain in general, is I sat down to make this video and I forgot to talk about the doll that I spent the absolute most money on in my entire collection, which is completely unhinged. And it's sort of like an out of sight, out of mind thing, I guess. But here I am in a third recording session trying to get this video done. That's why this video has taken so long to get out, because like I keep remembering things that I have to add. But this is my signed Samantha number 230, which is, as of right now, the lowest number signed doll that I have. I've been trying to keep only one of each of the original characters as a signed doll. Before I had like, a couple of each, but I just, for one reason or another, ended up deciding I really only need one of each character signed. More than that is really kind of lost on me because I like to keep my dolls dressed. I don't like having the signatures be exposed to sunlight. So there's really no point in having just a bunch of signed dolls because I'm not even going to appreciate the signatures anyway. And it's just like an extra asset to have to protect. But this is my Samantha number 230 that I spent. I don't think I've told YouTube how much I spent on her. Maybe I have, maybe I haven't, but it definitely ages ago, like it was a couple years ago. But again, if you hop back into the Patreon, I did a full collection tour as of, I think it was probably like 2023 maybe when I did it, but like basically walked through my entire collection and said exactly what I paid for everything. But if you're interested in that, go check that out. But I paid thousands of dollars for this doll. She was a very, very special doll, especially at the time, but she's one of the best in my collection. I really love her. But like I said, I'm always looking to get a lower number. So as soon as I find like Samantha 229, if she's in a better condition or same condition as this one, I'm trading up for that one. So this one's with me for now until I can find a lower number. She is absolutely gorgeous in the face, which can be rare for signed dolls. Not all signed dolls are the most beautiful dolls ever, but she has a really, really beautiful face. And again, she's probably the most, she's one of the most valuable dolls in my collection, if not the most. But yeah, I think she's a cool one to look at because her number's pretty low. But yeah, that is my signed Samantha doll. And while I do have the 35th anniversary version of Samantha, she's not interesting to talk about really because it's basically the same version that we're probably going to get re-released next month. Just sort of like a very common Samantha. And she's in deep storage, so it didn't feel like it was worth bringing her out just to show you probably the least interesting Samantha in my collection. Just know I have her. I'm going to hold on to her because I bought her in 2021. And she was actually the first Samantha doll I ever bought, interestingly enough. And then I fell down the rabbit hole and now I have all of this stuff. But I thought I would end the Samantha collection with one that's like really special to me as well. And then she might be special to you as well, because this is the first doll that I ever showed on YouTube. So my very first YouTube video that I made, that is still up if you want to go watch it, when I was just trying to figure it out. And just, it was like so unserious. Like I had no idea that this would actually turn into something. So I just kind of, I bought a doll for my birthday and I opened her on camera. Well, I wasn't on camera, but I just very sloppily made an unboxing video of her. And I think a lot of people were really excited to see an early, like a super early Pleasant Company doll on YouTube. Because at the time, like, I think it just is because of my age. I think a lot of the people, at least as of like 2022, when I started this channel, most American Girl collectors were a lot younger than I am. So they didn't really have that much of a tie to like early Pleasant Company stuff. You know, a lot of them are like, oh, this was the girl of the year when I was born. You know, it's like girl of the year didn't happen until I was like, what, 17 years old. So yeah, I'm quite the grandpa compared to a lot of people making content, at least at the time. I mean, we've got a lot more people my age on YouTube now, which is so great. I feel less alone. But anyway, at the time, you know, a lot of the content that like American Girl content on YouTube was like new releases and people getting really hyped up about like newer stuff basically. And even like myself included, I was like trying to find as much content as I could about the original Pleasant Company stuff. And there just wasn't much. I mean, I'm going to say that and then somebody's going to be like, what about so and so who did all of this before you and did it so much better? There was very, very little of that content on YouTube. So I think that that's why my channel kind of like, I don't want to say took off. It's not like I have a million subscribers or whatever, but like it exceeded my expectations of what it would be. Like even this channel name, I had no intention of like having like I Dream of Johnny be my actual identity. It was like the name of a burner Instagram I had to just post pictures of dolls basically. And I did the same thing with the YouTube channel and it just ended up turning into something. Um, but yeah, this was the doll that started it all. She was in the, like, this is a 1987 Samantha. Again, a very late 1987 Samantha. Gorgeous, stunning face, but she came with her original box, like the very, very first type of box that Pleasant Company ever made, with the satin ribbon and this, like the big sticker that said Pleasant Company on it with the logo. It just, I really don't think a whole lot of content like that was on YouTube because, again, they're just, you know, it takes the like right combination of personality to be like a complete joker idiot like me, plus having all of this stuff in the first place and caring about it. So I think that was one of the things that kind of like set my channel apart in the beginning, was that I was going and showing all of this like early Pleasant Company stuff, like first editions. And like, I wanted to teach people about it because I love it. It's my most favorite thing in the world. And I wanted to share it with people. And so much of it, like the information was like gate kept in Facebook group, like private Facebook groups that you had to kind of know somebody to get into. And so there was a lot of information there. And I've obviously discovered I'm trying not to cuss because it's YouTube, but I discovered a ton of information on my own, just trying to like dig things up and find them, between like finding receipts and just like doing lots of sleuth work. I've learned so much over the last 4 years about early Pleasant Company, especially in those early days. And I just was so excited to share it with everybody, which is why I continue to do it, because there's always something new to learn and share. And this doll is basically what started it all. So she's really special to me, like a perfectly mint 1987 Samantha doll that has her original box, and she is the reason that we're sitting here today. So I have so much love for this Samantha. I will never sell her. She's a very, very important part of my collection, not only my doll collection, but just personal possessions in general, because she represents so much to me. She represents trying something new in a really difficult time in my life. She represents all of the amazing people I've been able to meet through making content like this. So she is so special, and I felt like she was probably the last, like the Samantha that I needed to end this on, because again, she just represents so much to me. And not only that, she is like incredibly beautiful. If I have two weaknesses in this life, they are a 1986 Samantha and a 1986 Molly, and a peanut butter fudge milkshake from Cookout. Three weaknesses in this life. I have been like absolutely feral for Molly. I have to say, like, she's probably truly my favorite American Girl doll. I think she's the one that I wanted the most when I was a kid, but I wanted them all so badly. Again, I would have taken a doll that was like burned like Chucky at the end of like Child's Play 1. So it really didn't matter to me. I loved them all, but I just love Molly. She's so dorky with her glasses. I have glasses, even though you never see me wear them. And I honestly don't wear them. I probably should. That might be why I have headaches all the time. But I just really loved her. She has sort of like more of a like streamlined collection. It's like very, I don't want to say like boy or masculine or whatever, but you know what I mean. Like I know she has skirts and stuff, but I just really love like tomboy dolls. I think it's different, you know, at the time, like it was like Superstar Barbie and just like pink and glitter and all that stuff. And then you get this doll with like glasses and pigtails and corduroy pants and a button-up shirt. Hello, like that just really spoke to me in many ways. So I really feel like Molly was probably my true favorite of them, but it's so hard because I feel like Samantha is like the icon of Pleasant Company. It's really hard. It depends on what day you asked me, but if Molly was the icon of Pleasant Company, she would definitely be my favorite. So it's probably Molly, but I have a ton of them. I've been good about getting rid of some of them, but this is one of my 1986 Molly dolls. This is one that I bought out of a Facebook group that had been passed around by a bunch of collectors. And by the time she had gotten to the person that sold her to me, she had been basically customized to look like Samantha, which was crazy. Her hair was curled. She had some fake amber eyes, and the poor thing had just really been passed around. So I was desperately looking for a 1986 chip tooth Molly and kind of basically put out an ISO post on Facebook, and somebody responded and sold her to me for a very good deal, which I'm grateful for. And I actually fell in love with her. She sent the doll to me eyeless because she wanted to keep the eyes for another project, which was fine by me. I just wanted Molly. So I ended up having to find era appropriate eyes for her, which is why she looks so freaky. There are Molly dolls from 1986 that have crazy looking eyes like this. Not all of them, but I wanted one that looked insane. And so these are the eyes that I chose to give to this Molly. She has been one of my favorite dolls for years now. I just think she turned out so cute. I've got her all dressed up for school in the wintertime. I guess walking to school through the sleet and the rain. I really think that this outfit is like one of the most iconic of Pleasant Company as well. Like this like functioning rain jacket with like an actual vent at the back. This is so cool. I love this outfit and so iconic to Molly. And yeah, this is just like one of my favorite dolls in my collection is this, you know, slightly customized, but 1986 Molly that I love very much. Here is another of many 1986 Mollys you might see in today's video after I just told you I was trying not to hoard. This is one of my newer acquisitions. Why am I saying the word acquisition today? I swear I'm not getting paid for the amount of times I say acquisition. I must have watched too many like Resident Evil and Mortal Kombat collection videos. In case you're curious, some of my favorite content on the internet is just watching people's collections of things that I don't collect, which is funny. I love watching doll content, but truthfully, like most of what I watch is like seeing a Power Rangers collection or just like whatever it is. It's something that I like but don't collect. So anyway, I probably watched too many Resident Evil nerds say the word acquisition in the last 24 hours. So anyway, I recently purchased this Molly last year, and I'm trying to remember like why. I think I got a good deal on her because this isn't her original wig. She came with a really trashed. Oh, I know why I bought her, because I wanted to do a rehab video for the channel. Because her wig had been pulled off, completely trashed. The wig that came with her was not an era appropriate one by a long shot. Her body is all messed up. It's like she just needs a ton of work, and she still does. I've just got a temporary wig on her right now just so I can have her displayed. I really love her. She has a very similar head sculpt to my favorite Samantha doll. So this one's just kind of chilling temporarily. She's got silver eye right now, but I am about to start a rehab video for her where we completely like make her look new again, including like fixing the trashed old wig. So I'm excited to do that. I love making rehab videos, and we'll be doing more this year. But I have this one in a 1988 Miss Victory outfit, which I don't think I've ever put on Molly, like earnestly anyway, until like literally a few days ago. And I just realized like how good this looks on her. And she's the main Molly I have on display right now in front of the trunk. And this just looks so good in front of like the white and red stars on her trunk and everything. I think she looks so good, and I love having her hair down because that's how it's done, like in the catalogs and the books and everything. So I really love this Molly now, and I think I'm gonna like be absolutely head over heels for her when she's actually fixed up and perfected. All right, we're gonna look at a couple of Molly dolls that I actually have in storage. They're 1986, and I feel like I've told the story before. And it's a really sentimental one, and I feel like a little bit exhausted by telling it 1,000 times. But long story short, on the 1-year anniversary of my collecting, I found these dolls. So like I had really been wanting a perfectly like all original 1986 chip tooth Molly, the one that we just looked at a second ago, was obviously, I got that before I got these dolls, but it wasn't her original eyes, and I had to do a little bit of work on her bangs and stuff. I just wanted like a 1986 doll that was original, and I'd been looking for one for a long time. And then right on the 1 year anniversary, so this would be 2022, of my like really collecting American Girl dolls. It was at the same time. Again, it feels so vulnerable to be talking about this, especially like however long into a random doll video it is. But the reason I started collecting dolls in the first place was because my grandmother had just recently passed away, and she was the only adult in my life that didn't like judge me or make me feel weird for like wanting dolls or things that were marketed towards girls. So every once in a while, she would like buy me a Polly Pocket or a Barbie or something that I was able to kind of sneak around and have until my dad found it and then took it away and threw it in the trash. But anyway, so I like really think about my grandmother a lot when collecting dolls, because again, it's nice because not everybody gets to have this. It's nice to have at least one adult in your life that understands you, especially if you're somebody that's like really different and just trying to find your way in the world. And it can be just really difficult to find your way when you're different than everybody else, especially when you have adults being as mean to you as your classmates are. So yeah, I after she passed away, I kind of started, you just kind of get nostalgic and you think about memories and stuff, and that's what prompted me to start looking at American Girl dolls again for the first time in years and years and years. So yeah, that's what kind of prompted me to finally buy the Molly doll that I always wanted. And yeah, anyway, so you've probably heard the story before. I feel like I've told it before. So that's just sort of the abridged version of it. But it just was really interesting. My grandmother was actually a twin. She had an identical twin sister who outlived her by a little over a year. So interestingly, I'd been collecting dolls for about a year. And sadly, about that time, my grandmother's surviving twin sister. I'm not crying. It's just I've been talking for so long that my like throat has actually stopped, like doesn't work anymore. But my grandmother's twin sister got sick and she ended up passing away basically right around the exact same time of my 1 year anniversary of collecting American Girl dolls as an adult. And lo and behold, like randomly one night, I was just on the couch on eBay, and I'd actually been in the kitchen cooking for a while. I think these dolls might have been sitting there for a little bit, but believe it or not, two like all original 1986 chip tooth. I'm trying to. Oh yeah, these aren't the original glasses. It doesn't matter. Chip tooth Molly dolls showed up on eBay for, I want to say, like $350 each. Now, at the time, these dolls were selling for like $1,500, and they still kind of do now. They've been in the ballpark of $1,000 to $1,500, just depending on a like condition and what's included and everything. But these two showed up at the exact same time from the same seller, and they have the exact same neck stamp. Like these dolls are twins, and we've been talking a lot today, obviously, how pretty much every single American Girl doll is a little bit different from the last, and there's so many different neck stamps. I mean, these dolls have the same exact neck stamp, and they look as similar as two 1986 Molly's can. Like, I mean, they just, to me, look exactly alike. And it just was so interesting that happened. I actually think it happened as like after my grandmother's twin had passed away, but I didn't know yet. And it just was such an eerie thing to like have purchased these. They ended up shipping. Nobody messaged the seller to offer a better price on them. So I got two identical twin Mollies who are actually canonically not that much different in age to my grandmother and her twin. This was like one of those like weird little magical things that kind of happens. And again, it's, I guess all coincidence, but if you believed in these things, like, it's just like, you just sort of stop for a second. You're like, wait a minute. Was there some, like, I don't know. It just makes you kind of question like your cynicism sometimes when things like this happen. But this was obviously an incredibly special moment for me in my doll collecting. And it's kind of like messed up that I have them in storage and I'm not actually enjoying them right now. But this is like one of like the more like mysterious things that have happened, like surrounding like dolls in my collection and stuff. That's just felt like such a hug from them and such a sign from yeah, whatever it is, like whether you believe it or not, it's still like the fact that all of those were such like big coincidences. Like, regardless of like if it was her saying hi from the beyond, it's still like the coincidences still make me think of her. And I love it so much. And yeah, these dolls have been incredibly special to me ever since then. That said, they are, this is like, I guess messed up to say, they are not my favorite 1986 Mollies that I have. Like the ones that I've shown you, I do like a little bit better just aesthetically. And I've really struggled to figure out how to dress and do their hair in a way that I think that they look like the prettiest Mollies in my collection. I'm obviously going to stick with it. I still don't feel like I can get rid of these dolls, even though I have multiples. They're just, again, I mean, even to look at them on camera, they are beautiful, but I have not like figured out how to make them look their best yet. So they've kind of been in storage because I have so many dolls like taking up way too much space. But I thought I would share that story with you today at least and show you two of my 86 Mollies because again, just this like weird like again probably just a coincidence, but also it makes me think of them and brought me some comfort during a difficult time. So yeah, I thought I'd share that with you. Here is another 1986 Molly. This is one that I bought and I didn't realize what I had when I got her. So this isn't her original wig. I randomly have a white body Samantha wig on her just because I do like having some Molly dolls with their hair down, but obviously if they have factory braids, I don't take the braids out. So this is a 1986 Molly. This is a big tooth 1986 Molly, similar to the Samantha big tooth that we talked about earlier. So again, without getting into all of the like all of the details that make me know that she's a 1986, which I didn't figure out till after I yanked her wig off of her head, because the wig was in bad shape, but it was still fixable. I just didn't know that at the time. I just seen so many people yanking wigs off of doll heads and putting new ones on that I thought that's what I was supposed to do. So sadly, I shouldn't have done that. This is like, it's sad that I did that because she could have had her like fully original like look, you know, if I just spent a little time like figuring out how to fix her. But I still have the wig. I can still glue it on her head and fix it. But you know, this is a replaced wig. I have her in her Route 66 outfit, which is a really fun one. Again, one that really makes me think of my grandmother because I feel like she had a dress like this in this exact same color. But yeah, again, what can I say? One of many 1986 Molly dolls that I have. And oh yeah, I guess another thing I keep forgetting because I'm so entrenched in like the earliest Pleasant Company stuff. I forget that some people don't care enough to collect and really research it, but they enjoy the videos. So Molly's original glasses from 1986 through like around mid 1988 didn't have lenses in them. They were just like the glasses that Goods were using basically on their dolls. And they're kept on with a piece of elastic, basically. They just strap around the back of her head. And they can be really difficult to find. As you can imagine, a lot of children lost Molly's glasses over the years. So they just, especially because the elastic tended to disintegrate. And so the glasses would fall off. And, you know, just really, really hard to find original glasses for Molly. So it has been a journey trying to like replace certain dolls' glasses, but you know, often if I can find a really good condition Molly for a good price that still has her original lensless glasses, I tend to pick her up just because that's just something that's so classically early Pleasant Company, and that's how they were pictured in the first catalogs. So yeah, if you see that she doesn't have lenses in her glasses, I only have one, actually two Molly dolls that are from the era, or at least the vintage ones anyway, that are from the era where she had lenses. Most of my Molly dolls are from 1986 and 1987, which is why most of them don't have lenses, which works out great for filming because you can't see the reflection of my dirty bedroom. This is a customized Dreamer Molly, and we talked about a customized Dreamer doll a little bit ago. Like basically, I'm trying to tell you that I'm not going to tell you how I made her, but this is a doll that looks nearly identical to the Dreamer Mollies that were made in 1987 and 1988. And this is one that I customized while I was trying to find my authentic one, which I ended up finding an authentic one and like four more of them. And I've sold all of them but one. And I'm just now realizing I don't know where my authentic one is because I've gone through all of my boxes and stuff. She's here somewhere. I'm surely I didn't accidentally ship her to somebody, but I do have an authentic one that needs a little bit of work on her bangs, but maybe if I can find her, I'll put a picture of her in here. But I have an authentic one somewhere, and it's kind of bugging me that I don't know where she is. So I actually like the look of this one a little bit better than the authentic one, which is why I've kept her. I should probably sell her because I'm really trying not to have like fakes and customs and stuff in my collection. It's just so much, and I'm really trying to get authentic 100% mint condition originals. But I just think this is a really cute doll. I love how like cute she looks. I don't know, I just love those like like just like that 1,000-yard stare. I think it's really cute. So I do really like this doll, even though I should probably sell her. Luckily, I actually found my Dreamer Molly. She was just sitting in the wrong area of what I have deluded myself into believing is actually organized, but you know, there ain't nothing organized about what I'm doing. Maybe organized crime. What even is illegal anymore? All right, here's my very poorly dressed actual really real Dreamer Molly. She has crazy hair. It's like super thick, and some of these like dolls from this era have just like crazy thick hair. Like they put a lot of extra hair in them. She's had a little bit of a bangy bang trim. I think she just needs a little bit more work. I had to tame her hair a little bit, but this is one of my more boogery dolls. Sadly, I think she has a really great face. She just needs a little bit of work, and sadly, I mean, I bought her, I got a super great deal on her. I got her for like $150 with extras, and I sold all of the extras for about $150. So I basically got her for free, so that's great. She was selling for almost $2,000 at the time that I got her for this price, but she does have, like, I don't know what this person did to her eyelids, but looks like somebody stuck her head on a belt sander. But it's, you know, it's tough because I know how to repaint these, but the problem is that might make somebody think that she's a fake dreamer. So I'm just leaving her eyes as they are, just so you can see that this is like truly the original paint. Most people don't display their dolls with their eyes closed, so I have just left her like this. I'm too scared to, like, you know, call into question whether she's fake or not by painting her eyelids. So yeah, I don't know. She looks like she's just having a casual day around the house, like barefoot. But yeah, this doll really does need some work. And weirdly, like I've got a rare locket on her from 1988. They did this like one variation. Hang on, I'm going to show you really quickly on the screen. That locket was made like for a very brief batch in 1988. And that's about the time this doll was made. So this seems, you know, era authentic to her. But yeah, it's kind of crazy that I have a locket worth like $250 on this doll. All of the dolls worth a lot. It's just, again, this is how I know I have a problem. I have really great stuff that people would kill to have, and I just have it in a box that I didn't even know where it was for like 24 hours. So this is my Dreamer Molly. I really want to spend some time with her shortly to get her cleaned up and looking nice and in a nice permanent place on the display. I just feel like she's been kind of neglected. I don't know, maybe it's because her eyelids are so messed up that I feel like she's unworthy, but you know, that's not really fair. We all have messed up things on our bodies. Except for me, I'm perfect. This is a very random 1987 Big Tooth Molly that I purchased on Facebook a few years ago. Again, if it was on Facebook, I did it a few years ago. She's a little bit dusty, but yeah, somebody just had her for a pretty good deal. I really liked her because I thought she looked exactly like the Molly doll that they used for the winter spread, like the winter story in the catalog, like back in the original 1988 catalog. So I ended up picking her up. I guess she had silver eye. I don't remember this doll having silver eye, but I guess she must have had silver eye when I purchased her. And if you're wondering why a lot of my Molly dolls have their glasses hanging around their neck instead of on their face, these glasses are made out of unlacquered nickel, and they basically have the same issues that the original Barbies from, like, I guess the 50s and 60s had. That so if you ever heard of a Barbie getting green ear, which is basically like the nickel oxidizing and turning their ears green, these glasses will do the same exact thing to Molly. Now you can lacquer them. I'm too lazy and I haven't, and I really don't like destroying the originalness to them. But if you live in a humid environment, especially, and you leave these glasses stuck on their face, like touching their vinyl for too long, it will like leave green stains that are very, 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 very difficult to get out. So that's why, like, I tend to, like, some dolls I have glasses on them, but a lot of my Molly dolls, you're not going to see the glasses like all the way on them because they stain the vinyl. And I live in North Carolina now, so it can be kind of humid here. So I'm just terrified of getting like basically green stains on all of these early dolls. But this is a cute as a button 1987 Molly. I really like her, and she came to me with her pigtails like this, and I thought, like, oh, that's just perfect. It looks just like the 1988 catalog winter story. This lucky little doll here was actually, I think, the very first 1980, she's the first 1986 Molly I've ever gotten. She might have been the first 1986 doll I've ever gotten. And this was sort of early in my collecting days when I was still kind of learning what was what. So I didn't know exactly what she was when I was bidding on her, but she showed up on eBay with just a pile of her collection, and because I didn't have a lot of it, I was willing to buy like stuff from any year. I think I knew that she was a white body doll. Like, she was up for auction again, I want to say the winter of 2021, before Christmas. And so she was like just thrown on somebody's bed with a pile of like her school and Christmas stuff. And I was really interested in the auction, so I just messaged the seller to ask if I could get a better picture of the doll's face, because the doll's eyes weren't even open. And they sent me this picture, which I probably won't even be able to dig up, but they sent me an actual picture of this doll that like made her like the cutest doll I'd ever laid my eyes on. She just had such a cute face. And that's why I ended up bidding on her, because she was super cute. And then I got the package. I won the auction, and I want to say I paid 400 something dollars. I could be wrong. It's been years now, but I want to say I paid like 400 and something dollars for the doll mainly, plus all these extra things. The box showed up like a week later. I bid on this, by the way. Other like psycho collectors had their opportunity to buy this. The doll showed up in this big box. I'm like, why did they send like a doll and like a few accessories in this big like U-Haul box? And it turns out the seller had all of the original packaging for everything. And when I say original, it is the 1987, or yeah, no, this is a 1980, hang on. If I said 1987 at any point talking about this doll, this is a 1986 doll, not a 1987. That's a key point to the story. Showed up in all of the original 1986 boxes. It was, I like was doing the happy dance. I was like, because I had heard of like the elusive ribbon box from collectors, like the original way they used to package everything. And I'm not sure if I had even gotten one at that point, but I just to basically bid only $400 on a doll that I just thought was really cute and had some extra accessories, and to show for her to show up and me to actually be able to examine her wig cap and her other features, her boxes. I got like a really like a slamming deal for like just one of the little accessories in the boxes at the time was worth $450. So I think I got like a couple grand's worth of doll stuff, at least at the time, for like $450, including this really, really, really cute 1986 big tooth Molly. Again, she had her original glasses and everything. Like, this is the original elastic. So she was really, really taken care of. I was so, so, so stoked. These are the types of boxes I'm talking about. So they're the original Pleasant Company boxes that have an actual like real satin ribbon wrapped around it, and they're held in place with like a heart sticker and a Pleasant Company logo sticker. The doll boxes were like this too. They're obviously just longer and like the same size as they've always been, but to see like a box full of this stuff show up as an early collector, I felt like I had won the lottery. So yeah, this doll feels lucky for that reason. That was one of like my earliest really big wins on eBay, and that's like that feeling that you chase as a collector, like finding stuff like that, because it's like the biggest high in the world, and that's what keeps you coming back and doing this and being as insane as I am. But yeah, this is definitely one of my earliest big wins on eBay. This is a 1990 white body Molly. I'll show you just as proof, because she definitely has sort of that tan body look. This is one of the last white body dolls to ever be made. She is actually made in America. So again, I know this video is long, but essentially Pleasant Company had Goods open a factory. I don't know if it was technically under Pleasant Rowland's direction, but they were obviously selling a lot of dolls in America. So Goods ended up opening a factory in the late 80s to help keep up with the demand for the American Girl dolls. And so there are a decent batch of American Girl dolls that were actually made in America and not Germany. And this is one of them. And they can be kind of hard to find, maybe not particularly sought after, but I think it's really fun to have like an actual American girl. So that's kind of why I've held onto her all this time, because she does have silver eye, which kind of annoys me, but she does have factory braids, which again, for Molly and Kirsten can be really difficult to find. And these are so white body looking as far as these braids go. So I just, I tried to sell her once or twice, but it's just kind of been difficult too, because she does feel like an important point in Pleasant Company history. So I've kind of held onto her for that reason, even though I have way too many Molly dolls. But yeah, a 1990 white body Molly, one of the last ever made. America! Not a whole lot to say about this one. This is just a transitional tan body Molly, I believe. Yeah. So this doll is likely a 1991 Molly. And again, she's not particularly mint, even though this braid here is actually a factory braid. But she's all original. I ended up buying her because somebody had her in the wrong box. She was actually put in a 1987 Molly box. I don't know why, because they're such different eras. But for whatever reason, they had an original box. And that's actually why I bought this doll, even though I didn't really care about having the doll. But I should fix her up. She really has that white body look. She is very, very quintessentially 1991 looking. I do have the same, basically the same story as the Kirsten doll that I told you about. That was a 1991 perfectly mint condition doll. I have a Molly as well from 1991, and she's just perfectly mint, never been taken out of her box. The most gorgeous braids you've ever seen. I'll see if I can find a picture of her, but she is in deep storage, so I might not actually be able to show her to you, at least as of now. But she's so pristine that I don't have her out. I just make sure that I preserve her, but she looks very, very much like this. So she's just got those like really like deep gradient eyes that sort of the later white body mollies had. They have like sort of darker, like a darker gray on the outside, and it gets lighter towards the pupil. But I think she's incredibly gorgeous. And this is why I always say, like, you don't have to have a white body doll to have like a really pleasant company looking doll. I think the dolls from 1991 typically are still very, very pretty and can often be nicer looking than some of the ones from the later 80s. So if you really want a very like pleasant company looking like Molly, Samantha, or Kirsten, sometimes, particularly with Molly and Kirsten, those 1991 dolls can kind of get the thing, like get the task done basically, and they can have a tan body. But a lot of times people don't know the difference because they were using a lot of the same heads basically. Like those head molds weren't changed until after the torsos were. So there are a lot of like the earliest tan bodies that were using the same head molds as the white bodies. So a lot of them look exactly the same with clothes on. Oh, hey, I forgot about this Molly doll as well. This is me on my third session of recording this video. It got so long, and I remembered a couple more dolls that I had that I completely forgot to talk about when I was originally recording. So I'm just showing you a quick picture on my screen of one of my actual favorite Molly dolls in my entire collection. I think I mentioned her somewhere, but I didn't actually sit down to talk about her, I don't think. And if I did and forgot, well, here you go. You get to hear about it again. So this Molly is one that was the actual one that I was originally seeking when I first started collecting American Girl dolls. The original one I bought was one that just was not right for my collection. Basically, I impulse bought a Molly doll like in the middle of the night. Long story, blah blah blah. You've probably heard it before, like how I like fell into the world of American Girl doll collecting. But the doll that I bought ended up basically not being from the right era from my childhood, and I found out that she had silver eye, which I didn't know what that was when I bought her. But anyway, the original Molly doll I bought and had like a complete breakdown over, I ended up returning to the person I bought from her because I didn't think that I would do all of this. Now I wish more than anything I could have her back, but I just returned her so that I could actually start looking for one that was just a perfectly pristine, brand new from the box from somewhere in the early 90s, like preferably like 1990, 91, whatever. So it took me months to find it. These dolls are hard to find in this condition in this age, even though they're tan body and most people are just like, oh, tan body, whatever, who cares? I actually really love tan bodies, especially because that I think if I, had gotten an American Girl doll when I really wanted one the most, she would have been a tan body. So I think it would have been this Molly. This is about, I think, as close of a match as I think I could find to the perfect, most pristine Molly from my childhood that had never been touched by anybody else, that, she would always be mine. So this is a 1991 Molly, and as you can see, she has some of the most amazing hair you've ever seen on Molly. One of the most interesting things about her, I think, actually, is that the ends of her braids are actually quite long, and they have this like curl and flip on them. Most of Molly's braids, I think even up until this current era, they really chop them off like only about, I don't know, like an inch past the bow. But these, it's like she's got like 3 inches of hair past the bow. It just is so beautiful looking. And I have never taken this doll out of the box. Her original waist and foot rubber band, it's all one rubber band, by the way. There's like one big long rubber band from this era. But the one that goes around her waist and wraps around the back and attaches her ankles to the box, that had disintegrated over the years. So there may be little crumbles of that, but who cares? But so that rubber band isn't intact anymore, but for some reason the one around her neck survived. So I have actually never taken her like neck rubber band off. I'm just going to leave her like this. This is the thing I sometimes like to just look at on Christmas Day, like when after the sun's gone down and we've all done Christmas. I love to just grab this doll's box and kind of open her and just imagine for a minute that I'm like 8 years old again and I did finally get the doll, and that's like my moment after that's so cheesy, I know, but look, it makes me feel good. What are you gonna do? So I absolutely love this Molly. I paid, I think, just shy of $500 for her, which, these days you could probably get something like this for 200 bucks, maybe 250, but I just really, really wanted her. And she really has the look of a white body doll, honestly, between her eyes and her face coloring and everything. So she is a super, super early tan body. She's from 1991. And in fact, she's so early, she has a 1988 copyright on her pamphlet. So yeah, this is a true, like, very, very, very first tan body Molly. I really love her. She is just as mint as you will ever find. Well, basically any Molly, but especially an early 90s Molly. She's just so incredibly special to me. I love her so much. And I just love, like, I have her in deep storage. That's why you're looking at a photo. And I think she's actually at my parents' house. Like, it's that deep of storage. She's there currently, but I will probably bring her to my main house shortly. But I love every once in a while just opening that box lid and looking at a pristine 90s Molly, because that is like what I absolutely would have died for as a kid. So yeah, this is my special, like, perfectly NRFB pristine Molly from 1991. Randomly, I have Be Forever Molly, and I didn't even get like a great deal on her. I should have waited on a great deal, but I paid, I think, about $150 for her. I'm debating going ahead and selling her just because I have so many dolls, as you've seen by now, but I might pick her up again at some point in the future. I actually really love Be Forever Molly. I think this is one of the outfits that they actually managed to not screw up. And I think a lot of people actually prefer this outfit to Molly's original outfit from 1986, like the Pleasant Company one. So, I have this doll. She feels important as far as a Molly collection goes, but she has, what we all call the bad eyes. And she's just, I don't know, she's cute. She's not amazing. I like her outfit a lot, but again, even as I'm sitting here, like, showing you my collection, like, I'm exhausted by the amount of dolls I have. So it might be time to get rid of a few. And maybe, I don't know, tell me, should I get rid of Be Forever Molly or keep her? I'm probably going to keep her. All right, and I do have a signed Molly doll that I think I have a picture of that I'm gonna put on the screen so we can kind of quickly have a look at her. She's one that I purchased from the original owner several years ago when I was desperate to find a signed Molly doll. She had her certificate of authenticity, and other than that, she was actually in pretty bad shape. I'm still trying to do work on her to fix her bangs. I think I fixed her silver eye already. You'll see in the picture if I have or not. But she's just been something, like, a doll that I've worked on just like a little bit here and there. Just, she needs a lot of hair work and it's very finicky. And I've just had so many other projects going on. But I really love that doll. I'm still trying to find one that's a lower number. I almost told you an anecdote, but yeah, I'll plug the Patreon for the 1000th time if you want to hear about that. But yeah, I just, I'm trying to have one of each doll signed and try and get the lowest number that I can. So I'm continuing to search for a lower number signed Molly, but I really do love this one. But at some point, I do want to try and upgrade her with a lower number. This is my favorite Felicity, even though I'm probably going to drop like a million of her accoutrement while I'm trying to talk about her. Her whatever this is already fell off. I guess this is how they walk around in the snow and don't get their feet wet. But I purchased, okay, her snowshoes aren't going to stay on. She's going to have soggy feet. That's what you get for being a colonizer. So this is my favorite Felicity doll I've ever seen. And interestingly, she was the first one I ever purchased. I got a tip basically through a Facebook group that somebody had listed a really beautiful first edition Felicity on Etsy. I paid about $200 for her, which is very high for even a first edition Felicity without the box. But again, I just paid the pretty tax on her because I just, sometimes you just see a doll that has really beautiful coloring and a really lovely, like, just version of her head sculpt. I really, really love this Felicity. I've probably had about 5 first edition of Felicities come through the house. And I think this is really, I think, the only one that I'm going to keep. I have one that's in a box that looks fairly similar to this, not quite as cute, that's in deep storage that I kind of have as, again, my like 1991 pristine. This is like as if I got it for Christmas direct from Pleasant Company Felicity, but I don't like that doll as much as this one. So this is really the only one that I have out on display that I really consider part of my collection. And this is me at my pretty much as good as I can be, like trying to be my best about not having a million duplicates like we've seen for some of the previous dolls. It's just so hard when there are so many different versions of Molly, Samantha, and Kirsten. But from the, like, for the historical dolls moving forward, there really aren't a lot of really like nuanced variations in them. Like a Felicity, like a first edition Felicity has some hallmark features, but like a 1991 versus like a 1992 or 1993 Felicity isn't like a screaming difference. It's largely in their facial coloring, in my personal opinion, and obviously like a tag here or there. So I don't feel like it's really necessary to have five different Felicities because they are all more or less fairly similar to each other. So I've been really good and only kept one that's like super pristine that I kind of keep hidden away for, special moments. And then this one that is sort of my main displayed Felicity, which I love that she was my first Felicity. It's so rare that the very first doll that you buy ends up being the one that you keep as your favorite, but this ended up being the case for this one. I really, really love her. This was my best like attempt at putting her in something wintry. I know like as far as the catalog goes, which is how I tend to like to style things, they have her in her like blue Christmas dress for her like winter cape, but I don't know. I just get kind of sick of looking at Christmas stuff like literally on December 26th. So I have her in her school outfit, which I think goes with this pretty well. So yeah, and this took me forever to find, well, like find for a good deal and as a first year, like 1991 dress. So I've only had this for a few months. We saw it on my big Felicity haul video that I did a few months ago where I got like a big like first edition collection. I think it was all first edition. Go back and watch the video if you really want to know. But this was part of that haul, and so this is like my official like dress that came with that too. So yeah, I really love this getup. I think she looks really great and super catalog-y, which is my favorite thing in the world. So I actually have a few Addie dolls. I don't know how many we're gonna look at today, again because the variations aren't like quite as exciting as the like 80s variations on dolls. But this is my very first Addie doll that I ever purchased. I kind of took my time buying Felicity and Addie and certainly Josefina. So I had been collecting, I think, for at least like a year and a half before I even bought Felicity. I was just trying to go in order, basically. I was going to focus on the main three dolls and really get my collections right for those. And then, like, as I was doing that, I kind of realized how things are super rare and it might actually take you years to complete a collection because you don't have the opportunity to buy the things that are on your list. So I think about a year and a half in, I started working on Felicity and then very shortly after Addie. So this isn't the first Addie I bought. The very first one, I believe, was one that I purchased that was a 1994 Addie before I knew what a first edition looked like. And she was pristine, like mint in the box and everything. But I ended up selling her because the day I got her, I was having a bad day. Again, there's no reason to get in all the details of it. I was having a bad day. And every time I looked at that Addie doll, I just thought about the day that I had. It was like a really rainy day. Something was going on with our dog that was stressing us out. And that's all I thought about when I looked at that Addie doll. So I was like, okay, she's not a first edition. On top of that, let me just sell her and look for a proper first edition. And this one showed up. I want to say I bought this doll on Etsy. I cannot remember, but she did show up and she had some issues with her eyes. I think she had, I want to say she had, it was either silver eye or bubble eye. It's all some version of silver eye, but I did end up having to repaint her eyes. I did a pretty good job on it, I think. I'm pretty good at color matching. So I actually did repaint these eyes instead of replacing them. But I really love this Addie. She has a super round face. And like most of them do, especially in like like early to mid 90s, Addie dolls typically have very round faces, which is why I love them so much. But this one has just like a particularly round face, even for Addie. So I've really fallen in love with this one. And I've had a few, again, like Felicity, I've had a few first editions come through my house, but I've never fallen in love with one more than this one, even though she's not technically all original because she doesn't have her original factory braid and her eyes have been repainted. So she's not like considered like perfectly mint original, but I just really like her and I think she displays great. I've put her in my best attempt at having like a winter look. So she's got her school outfit on with her jacket and her hat, and I kind of have her mittens like around her like her neck like that. I think that looks really good. And I was even good and like oops, I guess she doesn't have her underwear on. So partial credit, but I did go and put her knee warmers on. I feel like I've never seen anybody put Addie's knee warmers on, but yeah, they were crispy mint, and I did the unthinkable and put mint knits on a doll. So they might be a little bit stretched, but they look cool. All I need to do is put a pair of bloomers on her, and I think she will be just about ship shape. I really, really love this Addie. She is definitely my favorite in my collection. I do have a couple more. I'll show you one quickly that you've seen already, and then if I can dig her out, I'm going to show you my like pristine first edition because she's pretty cool and I don't think you've seen her before. This is the first edition Addie that came with the big collection that I bought a few months ago. Again, there's an entire video on it that I would love for you to go back and watch. I really love Addie's collection a lot. It has like there's like a simplicity to it that I find like really refreshing. It's like very well made, but I just really love clean lined things. And I think her collection has like just a real clean look to it, but while still being like really high quality. I think it's like one of their best collections that they've made. So anyway, this is the doll that came with that collection, and I have not done a single thing to her other than just make sure that her official meat ribbon that belongs to her is actually like tied to her so I don't get it mixed up with another doll or lose it. But I think she kind of has her original factory sectioning, but the rubber band had popped off, and so I haven't really taken a lot of good care of this doll. I've only just been holding on to her because I hate splitting up original collections, but I have made the decision to do it because I just have too much stuff, and if I get sentimental about every little thing, my life is going to be a complete chaotic mess. Well, more than it is already. So I will be selling this one. She's so gorgeous. Somebody deserves to have her and really appreciate her. I'm going to keep the vast majority of the stuff that I got in that collection, but just because I have a doll that I just showed you that I do technically like more than this one and is a little bit more sentimental to me, it makes no sense to have three. I might even have four. If I really dig, there might be another first edition Addies somewhere in this house, like in a box to sell. But there's just no sense in having three first edition Addies when there are people looking for them. I'm really, really trying to be good this year and not hoard like multiple duplicates of things. So a gorgeous doll, but I prefer my other one just a little bit more. So I'm going to find a new home for this one. But I am going to show you my perfectly mint one. Let me go find her. All right, this is an Addie that I have picked up in recent months. It was last year, I think towards the end of the year, and I had just been, I'm always on the hunt for cool stuff. And one of the things, like I've talked about a couple times in this video, is I'm looking for pristine mint first editions, like in the box, like sort of like they were just brand new from Pleasant Company. So that's been something that's really been important for me to look for. And I think this is probably the one that fits the bill. We have a really, really nice first edition Addie box. It's the version that came with the hardback book. We've got the box band, just really, really, really nice condition. And I actually purchased this doll from a seller that is in North Carolina, and I was living in North Carolina at the time. So this is like a true North Carolina Addie. I guess she was made in probably West Germany. I don't think that they were doing anything in China. Yeah, 1993. This doll was made in West Germany, but I guess with a quick pit stop to Wisconsin. She has been in North Carolina most of her life, and North Carolina, albeit for reasons that are super shameful, North Carolina, I believe, is an important part of Addie's story. So, yeah, without getting into all of that, it is kind of interesting to have an Addie doll that has spent most of her life in North Carolina. So I'm going to try and be really careful. I know I just completely dumped a mint Kirsten on the ground earlier, but I'm going to try not to do that with Addie. But this is like a perfectly pristine Addie doll. So this is her in her box with the original hairnet pulled over her face, which, to the best of my knowledge, I've seen several of these, that this is how they're supposed to be. I don't think that's people like storing her improperly. I believe that that's how they shipped from Pleasant Company, is the hairnet over both their hair and their face. And this is just like a perfectly perfect Addie. We've got the original pamphlet, obviously borderless because it was 1993, right before they added the border. We've got the hardback book, the hair care tag on here. I just absolutely love this Addie. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, again, some of the stuff I have just thought about and known for so long, I forget that it's not common knowledge. But the first edition Addies that shipped in 1993, the very, very first batch of them, did not have grommets in the lace holes for their boots. And that's how you can immediately spot a first edition Addie if she has her shoes, is she will not have metal grommets in the holes that her laces go through. So again, I'm going to try and be really careful. But if you look really closely, you can see how her boots are just a little bit different than what they looked like in later 1993 and onwards. And on top of the not having grommets, they have really thin, slippery laces that are very difficult and annoying to tie. I mean, they've definitely made the right decision in changing them to what they currently are. Those are better boots without question. But, you know, when you're a collector, you want the very first thing. Well, not always, but when you're a collector like me, you want the first thing. It's just, I don't know. Like I said, it's probably a mental disorder, but I don't even care at this point. It makes me happy. So, yeah, again, we have also like her original necktie or neck brace or whatever this is with the rubber band. So very, very, very minty Addy. Again, this is like when people say like my forever Addy, like this also like I have to say I probably if I could only keep one of my Addies, it would be this one just because she's so crispy mint. I'm gonna keep the the first one we saw and this one. So I mean, don't you worry about that. But this is just like again like a piece of Pleasant Company history, like a first issue Addy mint in the box. This is gonna be mine forever. How lucky are we that we still get to see stuff in this condition like all of these years later? This is such a cool doll. All right, and we're gonna round this thing out with Josefina, the last official original Pleasant Company doll. If you've made it this far, I guess maybe I should maybe take a second and say if you aren't subscribed to the channel already, it would mean a lot to me if you'd hit the subscribe button, because that's all metrics that kind of help this channel move forward. And at some point we might want to try and get some sponsorships so I can actually continue to put more time and resources into the channel. And all of those things like really help a channel like mine out. So if you could hit the subscribe button and like it. I know it's a lot to ask to leave a comment. You know, I admittedly don't leave very many comments on YouTube videos either. So I still love you if you don't leave a comment. But a quick click of the like button and subscribe button if you aren't subscribed already really does help my channel out. Again, if you made it this far, why wouldn't you be subscribed already? So anyway, let's go ahead and talk about one of my more recent favorite Pleasant Company dolls, Josefina, whom I only knew was a thing about 4 years ago when I started collecting. I think I've told the story already in the video, but I basically gave up asking for dolls in 1994. I just begged and begged and begged and begged and begged. And finally, you just stop asking for it when you're a kid. And the desire never goes away. I definitely have clearly always wanted the doll, just never got it. And then at some point you get to an age where you think you're too old for it and can't enjoy it or won't enjoy it. And then you have a gigantic midlife crisis and then you go crazy. So anyway, once I started getting into dolls as an adult, like during COVID for a myriad of different reasons, I found out about a lot of different dolls that, obviously Pleasant Company and then American Girl continued to go on and do like a myriad of other things. But I had never heard of Josefina until about 4 years ago. And I admittedly didn't think I was going to collect her. Again, my original purpose in collecting was to kind of just close the circle from childhood and just buy all the things I wanted so that even though it was like 30 years later, I could still have done those things, and it wouldn't matter if I had done it at 36 versus 8 years old. But as I started to dive into this world, I really started to appreciate the craftsmanship and really like what Pleasant Rowland was able to achieve with her team and her company to make these things happen. As somebody who I personally have been a professional, I say professional, but I have been in the toy industry before. Like this is like what 10-15 years ago, actually more like 15 years ago. So I understand how a lot of things are manufactured and made and what it takes to actually make things of high quality. And it's very, very difficult, and especially if you're trying to do it on a large scale and reach millions and millions of people. There's a reason that American Girl has the clout that it does, because Pleasant Company was a complete anomaly. Like, these are the kinds of things that you expect to see as something that's more of a collector kind of thing, that people are expected to spend a lot more money on them than they even cost. And again, I've had theories, again, I've talked about this on Patreon too, why, like, some of the reasons I think Pleasant Rowland sold Pleasant Company in some ways might have been kind of forced to, but I think that Pleasant Rowland put quality over everything else, over profit, certainly. And I'm sure that they made quite a bit of money in the day. I still think that she favored quality over profit, which I don't think Mattel does. But I just have an immense amount of respect for Pleasant Rowland in so many ways, but certainly as a business person that was able to stick true to her vision and make something happen on a scale that most of us can't even fathom, and did it with what appears to be very little compromise. And so as I continued to learn about that and learn about truly how incredible Pleasant Company was just through the lens of an adult, then I started to really appreciate things that I had never even heard of before, such as Josefina, who was developed and released during the absolute height, like the pinnacle of Pleasant Company, at least from the consumer side, in my opinion. What she was able to do in 1986 in those early years is like incredible and remarkable. But what ended up happening is she obviously started to have more of a budget to work with developing her lines, which is why you'll notice that there is a stark difference in Felicity's collection versus Molly, Samantha, and Kirsten's collections, especially at launch. And that continued through to Addie's collection. And then as Josefina got released, I started to see all of this stuff again through completely fresh eyes because I'd never seen it before. I'd kind of had an idea of what all of the dolls and their collections looked like before this. But to truly see Josefina and her collection for the first time as somebody in their 30s, it was completely mind blowing to me that they were able to do what they did on this scale. The quality of everything is incredible. If there's plastic in Josefina's collection, there's very, very, very little of it. It is all wood and paper and ceramics. And I'm sitting over here looking at my display for her. And it's just really made me truly appreciate how incredibly special of a moment in time in toy history that Pleasant Company was, especially in the 90s. So that's why I was like, oh, I probably will collect Josefina because I have an actual appreciation of it through an adult lens. Like, I didn't need nostalgia to make me like it, because I understand that like My Little Pony and stuff like this, that's really not a like quality difference that is particularly remarkable to any other toy that you could buy at Kmart or Walmart, because that's what these things were. But as somebody who appreciates sculpture and art and dolls and quality and all of that stuff, I appreciate her as an adult, not just somebody that was like, oh, I remember this from childhood and it makes me happy. I get actual joy out of the quality of something like this just on the surface level. So that's why I made the decision to collect Josefina. I know a lot of people have been asking me over the years, when are you going to get Josefina? When are you going to get Josefina? I have actually had her for several years. This is my very first Josefina doll that I purchased. I got her, I want to say probably in 2023. It might have been 22, but it was likely 2023 when I got her. I was just looking for the right one. By that point I was a super collector and I wanted the perfect first edition doll, and I almost found her. This doll came with her original box and it was in pretty good shape and she had all her original parts and everything, and I purchased her on Mercari for what was market price, and the doll showed up and she was missing her like the primroses in her hair and the ribbon, and I was actually, like, I wouldn't say I was upset about it, but I was obviously not happy about it. I was trying to work with a seller to find them, and they basically wrote out the return period on the doll, like saying they were looking for them and they never found them or whatever. I don't know if they sold them or what, but basically they were not very helpful in trying to make the deal right. So that's a little bit frustrating for me. So my first edition Josefina technically is not complete. So at some point I probably should sell her and look for another one, and I probably will try and do it this year. It just really bugs me. She has like her factory braid and everything. It had the original black rubber band that I since had to reinforce with a clear one because all of those old rubber bands crumbled for the most part. But yeah, this is what a true first edition Josefina looks like from 1997. Super rosy cheeks, and the main way you know she's a first edition is, you probably can't see it in this video, but there's a little, we think it's a one, but I don't know, it basically looks like a one in a circle right to the right of the Pleasant Company like handwritten like logo and on the back of her neck. So she is a true first edition and she's really, really beautiful. It's unfortunate that she doesn't have her primroses that, from what I understand, are a really important part of her character, but I have her original meat accessories and everything. I absolutely love this doll, and even more so, I love her collection. It is so beautifully made. The quality, like when I very quickly, I don't want to tell the whole story because this is about dolls today, but I did end up purchasing like what I think is like at least 80% of her collection from a seller last year, the same week that our dog passed away, which is like one of the hardest things I've gone through. If you've lost a pet that you've had for 17 years, you know what it's like. But yeah, he was my best friend for 17 years, and I was not in a good place having to deal with all that as it was happening, and then obviously afterwards. But within that same week, somebody listed an entire Josefina collection for $150. And so I basically got almost all of Josefina's collection, barring like a couple rare things, but for the most part, her entire Pleasant Company collection for about $150 on eBay. And nobody fought me for it. It was really nice. And it was really nice to get that like basically within the week. And my partner and I were just kind of going through it and just marveling at how incredible and amazing it was. It was all in the original boxes and everything. It just, again, probably worth $1,000 or more. Probably should have paid the person more for it, but I mean, you know how it goes as a collector. You take the wins when you can. But it just was a really, really special moment to go through all of that and see it in person for the first time all together. And like I said, just really like marvel at the beauty and the craftsmanship. It's just such an incredibly beautiful collection. And one more funny little anecdote is the Sombrita, the little goat that's Josefina's pet. And that collection was completely complete and it was missing one little item, and it was the bell that he had. The I don't actually, Sombrita's probably female, I'm not actually sure. You can let me know in the comments. I haven't read her stories yet because I have a feeling it's going to be super triggering. But the Sombrita had the collar on, but the bell was missing, and it just was a very interesting piece to be missing because our dog Robbie was deaf for about a year, like the last year maybe to 2 years. It just, it's a process. They start losing their hearing and then go completely deaf. But for about a year, he was deaf at the end of his life. And it just felt really symbolic to me that like during all this time, all of this stuff showed up. And the one little thing, again, Robbie's nickname, one of many, many nicknames, is I did call him my little shadow because, you know, how dogs are. They kind of follow you everywhere. And I picked that up from a Yeah Yeah Yes song, like, from like 2009, I think it was one of their earlier albums. But that song makes me think of him, and I always like called him Little Shadow. And that's what sombrita means in Spanish. So yeah, that was really, really symbolic to me. Again, I don't know if I believe in these things, but even just the coincidences are enough to bring you some comfort. And, in this chaotic world that doesn't make sense a lot of times, yeah, it was really, really special to me. So now I feel like Josefina is a really important part of my collection because of that. And I feel really grateful for that because so much of this is about like connecting with my childhood and finding sentiment and basically inanimate objects. And because Josefina wasn't like really a childhood doll, like there wasn't really that like emotional connection, like in that way with Josefina. But now, because of the way her entire collection kind of showed up for me, it like kind of feels that way now. And so I think it's really nice to have like that full rounded picture of like the original Pleasant Company 6, and Josefina gets to be a really important part of that. So that's very special to me. I'm actually going to show you the doll. I haven't even showed you the doll that came with the lot. Let me grab it really quick. So this is my very special Josefina doll that came with that same exact lot. Obviously, you can tell I've taken very good care of her. She was completely mint condition, factory braid. She has the original primroses. Now, she's not a first edition. I believe she's probably an early 1998. But all of the stuff that came with her had all of the original copyright years on them. So everything was copyrighted 1997. If it were to have a copyright, some of it doesn't have the copyright year on it. So you might not know if it's technically a 98 or 97, but it's all made exactly the same. So it just would have like a generic Pleasant Company tag. But yeah, this is one of the most special dolls in my collection now, oddly, like after all of these years and all of the like twists and turns of being an adult collector of dolls and trying to make sense of this crazy world and everything that's been going on and finding comfort and peace during times like this. And this doll and her collection brought me an incredible amount of peace during a really difficult time. And I've just tried to take care of her. And obviously, I've got her in her winter getup, which is so incredibly beautiful. Again, just amazing details, line, silhouette. Her like underskirt is falling off a little bit, but I have her like in the actual like winter. I'm trying to remember the name of it, but her like winter accessories plus her serape and her hat. I absolutely love this. It's just so incredibly beautiful. And again, just a testament to the beauty and the detail and just the meticulousness that went into Pleasant Company in its heyday. And it's just something that I will never not love and appreciate. And just, it brings me so much joy every single time I look at it and I get to redress dolls and work on my display and talk to you about it. I just, it's, again, to me, it's like the most incredible thing in the world, and I'm so happy to be able to experience it. I'm truly grateful for it. All right, this is your special treat for listening to me ramble and gab and complain and boast and brag for this entire video. I'm going to show you some dolls that I think most people don't know that I actually have, and it hasn't really been a secret. I just haven't found the right moment to show them off, and I think my Discord group knows that I have these, but I actually have two of the original, hang on. I actually have two of the original one-of-a-kind, only one ever produced official American Girl dolls by Carly Cushney. So these are official American Girl dolls that were released in 2021 as part of the 35th anniversary, and they hired Carly Cushney, who's a very well-known fashion designer, to do modern interpretations of all of the original 6 American Girl dolls, like from the Pleasant Company era. So we had Molly, Samantha, Kirsten, Felicity, Addie, and Josefina all got modern reinterpretations, and these dolls were auctioned off to benefit a charity. I believe the name of the charity was Girls Who Code. There's probably something in here that will tell me that. I probably should look, because I think this might be the only time these dolls get seen on the internet. I mean, I'm obviously happy to share them later on, but yeah, Girls Who Code, and this is my like certificate or letter of authenticity that proves that this is actually like a real authentic one-of-a-kind American Girl item. Very cool. But yeah, she only made one of each of these. They're handmade by either her or her team. I don't think they ever said completely, but they took one of each of the 35th anniversary dolls and they gave them like modern makeovers basically, and they did such a beautiful job with them. Kirsten, I think, was actually my favorite. I'm so grateful to have this doll. So to be like completely transparent, I wasn't one of the ones that originally bid on these dolls. This ended up happening either right as I was it was the year I started collecting, and this was not the kind of thing that was on my radar or anything that I was looking for. So this is, you know, I just didn't have the opportunity to purchase them when they first came around, but one of the people that purchased two of them ended up selling them. I think it was last year. I bought them while I was in North Carolina. So again, I'm going to be careful with them. They're not on display right now, so I'm trying to be as careful as I can. I obviously just made sure my hands were completely sanitized, clean, washed, and dried before touching her. But this is, again, the truly, like, this is the one. Some people have tried to make replicas of this dress, which, again, as somebody who owns the original, I think, like, I'm not somebody that's like, oh, nuts, the thing that I own isn't as special anymore. I love that people get to enjoy these things. I'm not like that. I want everybody to have everything. So some people have made replicas of this dress that you can find on Etsy, and they're very close replicas. They look pretty close to the original. But yeah, this is Kirsten. As you can see, they took her braids out. Hair's a little bit frizzy. That was not my doing, but I think this hat was maybe from a Truly Me doll or one of the Truly Me collections, and they added a matching like trim around the hat. Again, this beautiful dress. I'm not going to take all the protection off of her arms and legs and stuff because I want to kind of leave her that. Oh, I didn't realize this. Okay, to be perfectly honest, I've been trying to save this moment of actually taking them out of the box for the video. I thought I knew everything I needed to know about them, but these dolls are actually signed. So Carly Cushney actually autographed the chest on this. I either didn't know that or forgot that. That's pretty cool. Her necklace is in here. I'm trying to leave things as they are, just to protect them. Obviously, I'm going to take her hat off just so that, because it's obviously gotten smushed in storage, but this is a really, really cool thing to have. American Girl has only ever, I think, a couple of times made one-of-a-kind dolls that are official releases that they've either auctioned off or sold for really high prices. Some of the earliest dolls I think that they did before they started doing the collector dolls is they had really beautiful dresses, like one-of-a-kind dresses that were sewn onto the dolls. I think, sold those at like their stores maybe. I can't remember if they were auctioned or just sold. I know they went for a lot of money, so maybe they were auctioned. So I've never seen one of those surface, but the ones that actually spoke to me the most were the modern interpretations of the original Pleasant Company dolls that they did. Because again, this was like from the year I started collecting, and obviously I love the original Pleasant Company dolls more than anything. And I was so glad that Kirsten was actually one of the ones that the original owner ended up selling, because this one was my actual favorite. I love a gingham pattern, and I just, this silhouette on this doll is so pretty. Like I said, I really am trying to not disturb this doll too much, because again, this is a true collector's item. It is an official one of a kind doll, so she's very important in my collection. I don't have her on display right now, but at some point, like in the next house, because we're living in a temporary house right now, once we get moved to somewhere more permanent, like I'm gonna have these, like this doll, obviously, like displayed like she's in a museum. I'm so grateful to have her, and I'm gonna do my best to take care of her. But that's pretty cool that these are signed. I actually forgot that. I love that. So that is my truly one of a kind Kirsten doll. And also, surprise, I have Samantha. So this one also came up for sale not long after the other one, Kirsten, went for sale. It was actually from the same person, not to dox them or anything, but that's how I ended up with two of them. Somebody had actually, the original buyer had actually purchased two of them, and they made the decision to sell them. So I went ahead and bought both from her. Again, because I loved all of them. I think my only note for that entire collection actually was that they cut Addie's hair really short, which was like, I don't know, I didn't like that. But the outfits were like so beautiful. And again, they're one of a kind, handmade, officially for American Girl. So I just think it's so cool to have these. I know they used a couple accessories from the Truly Me line, you know, probably just in the interest of certain things that were maybe more difficult to make, like necklaces and things like that. But like I said, this is, hang on, this is falling off. But I would assume she's signed as well. I don't really want to like disturb her too much, but yeah, this one is signed as well. Again, I really love this. I love this like sleeve detail that she's done. It's very similar to the one that Kirsten had. And I think these look so great. I think that's one thing that's really cool about them, is not only are they like really truly special one of a kind pieces that American Girl officially sold, but I actually really like them. I think they are so pretty. Again, I'm not a fashion person. Hang on, there's a piece of tape on there that I'm not going to touch until I have a chance off camera to take it off, because I don't want to rip this. But I feel so lucky to have two of these, because not only are they rare and special and collector's items, I actually love them. I think they are so beautiful. So yeah, I just feel really grateful to have two of these. I think that's like such a cool thing to have as a collector, is even though like it was 35 years after the original dolls were released, I still consider this part of like, you know, the like universe of the original Pleasant Company thing, because you know, if they released new outfits for Samantha, I would consider that part of Samantha's collection. So to have an original one of a kind like this that I'm sitting here like bragging and going on and on about, I feel like I need to make it known that I am truly grateful to be able to not only own one of them but two of them. One of these days, I would love to hunt down Molly. I don't know who has her, but if she ever comes up for sale, I would love to get my hands on Molly as well, to have the original trio. But that said, I would purchase any of them. I think Josefina in particular had such a beautiful, like, I think it's called a jumper, but it was like a one-piece thing with sleeves on it. Really, really cool. I just think that she did such a beautiful job with these outfits, and the original purchases went to a really great cause, and now they've made it into the hands of a collector like me. And like I said, as long as I have them, I will truly appreciate them as much as I do any of my like rarest, like original stuff from 1986. Like I said, I feel so incredibly grateful to have this doll. And again, this outfit is so beautiful. You can probably, again, find replicas by like people that actually hand sew doll clothes on Etsy and Instagram. So be on the lookout. These things, you know, you can get this look, and Samantha looks like this currently. So you can get this look like pretty easily now, but like I said, as a collector, it's pretty cool to have the original. So that was your super extra special treat for today, to actually see some dolls that haven't really seen the light of day since they were originally sold, I guess 4 years ago. So yeah, that's where two of them ended up. They're hanging out with me and the rest of the gals. So there you go, your special treat for today. All right, I think that's gonna about do it for today. This video ended up being probably, this might be the single longest video I've ever made on YouTube. So if you have made it to the end, I just wanted to say thank you for hanging out with me this much. It's insane to me every day that I wake up and realize that I found a community of people that truly get it, and we can spend this time together in a judgment-free zone and just really like nerd out about the things that we love and bring us joy and happiness and comfort and community. All of that is so incredibly special, and I just wanted to thank you for being here and being a part of it. So yeah, I can't imagine why you would want to continue watching more, but if you do, I've got more videos and we can keep doing this. But if not, maybe put your phone down and hop off the computer, go touch some grass or play with some dolls, maybe with some music on or something, and just continue to check out from the world. It's important to show up and, stand up for what's right when the time comes, but it's also important to take care of your mental health and restore so that you are healthy and have enough energy to do the things that you need to do in this life. So be sure you're looking after yourself. I know it can be really hard. There's a lot of information flying at us really, really fast. So just make sure you take care of your mental health and be sure you check in on the people that you care about and their mental health because, it's a bit weird right now, but we're going to get through it and I'm going to be here for you. So I guess that's it for today. Again, I love you so much and I will see and talk to you really soon. Bye.